All right, guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to episode 3 of the PlayStation podcast. Hope you guys are keeping well on this sweltering Sunday evening. How you doing, Tox? Mark? Raz? Belton? Hope you guys are keeping well. Tox is saying the Order 1886 still holds up graphically to today's standards. Yes, a stunning game. Absolute stunning. But guys, welcome to the third episode of the PlayStation podcast. So weekly podcast where we talk about PlayStation and of course all things in gaming. Hope everyone's doing well. And just I always say just a word of caution before we kick things off. My PC's crashed several times throughout the week. Not sure what's wrong with it. Could be a motherboard thing actually. So if something happens and it crashes, just give me 10 minutes and I will come back in. All good, Tox. All good, Tox. All good here. So let me know how the sound's coming through. Let me know if there's any reverb or echoes in the background. So if the sound's okay, I'll crack on. Let me know your thoughts on the cinematic intro. I'd like to put something together. I think that was from last week as well. And I'll try doing a new one if I can next week. But it just depends on the time. But something entertaining to look at while you guys wait for the podcast to start. And as we always do, a little bit of housekeeping to start the podcast, to start it off, and also allow the people to work their way into the chat. So this area I like to call the hangout. I will get some labels on here actually. Tox, oh no, everything okay? Hope everything's okay. The sound is coming through. Hope it's not stuttering or anything like that. So I like to call this area the hangout. So chill here for a bit, and then we'll start the main round shortly. And what we'll do is we'll move over to the news area where we'll talk about the topics today and go into a bit more detail shortly. But whilst people are still waiting to kind of file themselves in, we'll wait at this area. But as I always do, I like to start off with a shout out to the God of War and the Uncharted channel members, whose names you can see running across the bottom of the screen. We've got 2 tiers on the channel. That's the God of War and the Uncharted channel members. The names of you can see at the bottom. I am working on some custom images, emotes, logos, whatever you call it for the channel members. So I'll let you guys know when I have a better idea on when I'm going to get that artwork together. But for now, just bear with it. I've got the standard ones to go at the minute. But I also want to say a huge shout out to the regulars who turn up day in and day out to support the videos, the posts, the streams on the channel. You guys turn up all the time and you show your support on the channel. You're always engaging with the content, leaving comments, which is fantastic. And yeah, I want to thank you guys for supporting the channel, because one of the things I spoke about last week, we hit a milestone, right? Last week we hit 3,000 subscribers for the channel, which is fantastic. It's a big milestone for a small channel like this. But already, you know, a week later, we're on 3,100. So 100 subscribers within a week, which is fantastic. And if we can keep this going and keep this momentum going, we'll achieve 4,000 within 10 weeks, give or take. So, and that'll be, again, an incredible achievement for a small channel like this. But it's down to you guys, yeah? It's what you guys do. It's the effort you guys put in, the engagement on the videos, in the chat, turning up for streams like this. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. And that moves us nicely onto supporting the channel. So we've seen some fantastic growth on the channel. Huge win, Tox. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, buddy. So good growth on the channel over the last few months, and I want to thank you guys for it, because you guys support the channel in different ways. But first and foremost, the best way you guys can support the channel is just being here on the podcast, whether it's live, whether it's watching it later, because I appreciate not everybody can turn up and watch the podcast live. The number one thing you can do is support the channel by just watching, take part in the discussion in the comment section, take part in the comments in the videos and the live streams here on the podcast. But you guys engaging on the channel, leaving comments, that helps and supports the channel. That's the number one thing you guys can do. Other ways that you can support, hit that like button. Yeah, really helps the channel. Hit the like button. That helps out incredibly on the channel. It tells me and YouTube that you're enjoying the podcast or the videos on the channel. And it helps YouTube. I don't know how it does it, but it spreads it. Yeah, it spreads the vibes of the channel across the internet. People call it the algorithm or the YouTube gods, whoever you want to call it to. It spreads it. And what that does, it sends the content to a wider range of audience who are interested in either PlayStation stuff, gaming, podcasts, or other things related to the channel. And what I've noticed last week is that we've had about 100 people subscribe to the channel. So I'm noticing different things, different comments, and people saying things like, never seen this channel before. Looks good. I'll subscribe. Or nice little channel. Just subbed. Or another person said, I didn't know you did podcasts. Great. I'll subscribe. So there's little things like that. And that's just because you guys are watching and you're liking. And it tells YouTube that, okay, this content might be decent. Let's send it out to other people. So thank you guys. I really appreciate that. And there's lots of similar comments to that. Yeah, Toxic and YouTube gods. Yes. Raz, how you doing, buddy? You provided a positive, unbiased perspective. That's much appreciated. Thank you, buddy. Obviously, it's PlayStation centric, and I will always lean towards that so long as they've got the games and the quality games. But I'll try to be as unbiased and as fair as I can to all the platforms. But I appreciate you guys doing that, because it's you guys that are liking the content and watching the content, which helps push it to a wider audience. So thank you for that. But there are a few other things that we could do on the channel, and that will help support the channel. So if it's within your means, consider becoming a channel member and support the channel directly. As I said, I've got two tiers at the minute, God of War and the Uncharted tier. And I'm looking at custom artwork, which I'll send over to you guys. You can have a look. Maybe you can vote on which is the best style, design, or color, and I'll put it in the channel poll, and we can vote on it. So still a way away from that, but just to keep you guys up to date with what's happening. Other ways you can support is you can become a channel member and not miss any videos, posts, or podcasts. And finally, you can consider sending a super chat. Have your say with a super chat. If you want to say something, if you want to discuss something, if you want to get something off your chest, if there's something niggling you, put forward a super chat. If you want to make a statement, I was going to say a political point, but we don't do politics. If you want to discuss something important to you, debate something, say something controversial, put forward a super chat. But at the very least, to support the channel, the community here on YouTube, you guys being here on the podcast, watching the videos, engaging the content, and hitting that like button is enough. Okay, that does it. That does it for the channel. So that's the housekeeping done, guys. That is the housekeeping. So how is everyone feeling today? How are you guys doing? Raz, you'll be listening while I finish up workout. Already connected to my Bluetooth speakers. I switched from your music. Oh, nice one, buddy. Nice one. Appreciate that. I hope you guys are keeping well. Do I really need to ask you guys what you're playing right now? Because we'll go into this in a bit more detail as the kind of podcast moves forward. But I received my my copy of Death Stranding 2. And we'll go into this more detail shortly, but I got the copy on Thursday morning and started my playthrough Friday evening. And I've managed around, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 hours, something like that. Right. So I'm going slowly. And I'm planning to get in hopefully around 10 hours between Monday and Friday this week. And then by next week, hopefully I'll be 20-ish hours in, give or take. As I said last week, I cleared my gaming schedule in July just to focus on Death Stranding 2. And we'll come on to that, kind of the early thoughts on what everyone's thinking about the game. But, honestly, just phenomenal is all I'm going to say for that. Blown away, kind of in terms of initial impressions. But I'm not going to say any more just yet. We're kind of excited to talk about that when we get to that part in the topics. But, of course, we'll talk about it with no spoilers and give our early thoughts on the game. So, Kingsblood, Restless. Bomb Squad, how you doing, buddy? You're here to finish the week off the best way with this podcast, currently on the treadmill, so you'll be listening. Oh, Bomb Squad, you are in tune with Raz, who's also at the gym today listening to the podcast. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Yeah, Toxic. I think it's a big win to get that game and to get started with it. I want to take my time with it. And I keep saying I don't want to talk about it, but I can't help it. It's a cracking game. I want to take my time. I want to take it all in. So I've cleared the schedule, so I'm not rushed into missing bits. You know, I want to take a scenic tour. I want to do stuff that I don't feel like I'm being pushed to finish it quickly, so I can start something else. I don't care about anything else at the minute. This is the priority in terms of the games we're playing. So apart from Death Stranding 2, is anyone playing anything else right now? Anything different? Anything we've not mentioned before on the channel? Let me know if you are. Let me know in the comments if you're watching this after the live stream, and if you're in the chat and you happen to join, let me know if you're playing anything different other than Death Stranding. Tox, you're always thinking about the game. It's absolutely mesmerizing. Yeah, oh, you know what? It is. It really is. It's absolutely incredible. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I'll go on to that in just a second. We kind of changed the format last week. I split the podcast into two sections. First section, section 1, is all about news, rumors, leaks, the big stories, what's making the headlines from a gaming perspective during the week. That's the first section. Second section, we'll have a look at what games are coming out. You know, the games that we're excited about, something that we might have missed, games that haven't been on our radar. Right. So last week we talked about Blood Message, or Blood Massage, as we like to call it on the channel. So yes, that will be part 2. That's the kind of the gaming segment. So what are we talking about today in terms of topics? Well, let's have a look. So first section is the news, rumors and leaks around the gaming side of things. So the first topic we're going to start with is PlayStation, and they've come out with one of their senior execs has come out, and this kind of re-emphasizing their focus that no first-party PlayStation game is going day and date into PlayStation Plus. Kind of re-emphasizing the importance of exclusive content for the channel. Plus, more PS3 games will be coming to PlayStation Plus. So those are the main two kind of bits of topic for the first part of our discussion here on the podcast. And then, of course, the second topic, we'll be talking about our experience and our early thoughts with Death Stranding 2, but with no spoilers. So we're not going to let's keep it spoiler free for those that want to see and experience the game for themselves over the next few days, maybe over the next week or so. The third topic we'll talk about, obviously, you know now I'm getting a PSVR2 at some stage this year, but Xbox has entered the VR space. So we have a PSVR2, an Xbox VR in the same space. So the question is, for a new person coming into the VR space, what should you get? Should you focus on a PSVR2, or should I focus on an Xbox VR? We'll talk about that. That's the third topic. And then the fourth topic, we've got massive layoffs, sadly, in the Xbox gaming division at Microsoft. And rumors suggest that this is going to be brutal bloodbath. Thousands of people, apparently, up to 2,000 devs. We're talking entire studios. If those rumors and reports are true, and there's multiple people talking about it, very, very difficult situation if you're one of the devs at Microsoft. So we'll have a look at that as well. That's topic 4. And then the second part of the podcast will focus on the gaming spotlight. We'll take a closer look at a number of games or reports coming out around the games. We've got rumors of a LittleBigPlanet PS5 remaster in the works. Senua Saga Hellblade 2 is coming to PlayStation 5. We have Delta Force, which arrives on PlayStation 5 and Xbox. Very excited about that game, and I'll tell you why later on. And Crimson Desert is making the rounds again in the news, and we'll talk more about that, because that game's been on my radar for quite some time. So we've got a packed podcast, really. So, I hope you guys are ready. Apart from Bomb Squad and Raz, who are on at the gym, they haven't got snacks, but the rest of you, I hope you got your snacks. And just before we begin, guys, I don't often do this because I normally forget. Let's hit that like button. We'll get cracking. Right, so what are you guys saying then? So Bomb Squad. You've got home, so podcast turned up loud and clear. Excellent. Lance. It's rough trying to play anything but Death Stranding 2. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's why I cleared my schedule for that game. I just wanted to, because the same thing happened when I was trying to play Assassin's Creed earlier. There were a few other games coming out in the mix, and it was difficult to focus on one game. So I just decided, you know what? Whatever comes out in July comes out. I'm just, my focus is Death Stranding 2. Once I've completed it and I'm satisfied I've done all the side missions and taken in the atmosphere, then I'll move on, because I'm hoping by the time the end of July comes in, the game is done. And then we've got other games coming out in August that I want to talk about a bit later on. But yeah, it's difficult trying to think of anything else other than Death Stranding 2. Tox, blood massage. Yes. Yeah, if you know, you know. 5, saving the best for last. Yeah, the gaming spotlight. It's almost like a quick fire round, taking a quick snippet of information, looking at the games. We're not going to spend as much depth as we are at the first part of the podcast. It's more quick fire, but you know. And I'm also happy to have a look at other games that you guys maybe recommend during the week. That's what section 2 in the podcast is. That's point number 5. It's looking at games that maybe are not on our radar. So somebody might have mentioned it in the comments. There's another game called Ill, right? It looks fantastic. Maybe we'll talk about that next week in part 5, topic 5. But yeah, if you guys recommend anything during the week, just drop it into the comments and maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast, because I want to talk about games that maybe it's not on our radar or we've forgotten about for a while. King's Blood is saying not really an Xbox VR, just branded Facebook VR. Oh, controversial. There's our first divisive moment, and it's done by King's Blood. A few minutes into the podcast. We'll come on to that, King's Blood. We'll come on to that. GLP Gamer, how you doing, buddy? The Xbox VR is limited edition and pretty much sold out everywhere. Oh, that's interesting. That's very much food for thought. Spoilers in the box. What the? Spoilers in the box? Miasima, spoilers in the box? I don't... What do you mean? No. There's no spoilers. These are just trailers. These are trailers. So these are... what are they called? The Hideo Kojima released some trailers, right? So I've just put them in there. Hopefully there's no spoilers in there. These are just trailers that have been out on YouTube for several days, several weeks. Nothing about the game that I've put in there. There's no content. There's no gameplay, as it were, from anyone. It's just stuff that PlayStation has released or Hideo Kojima Productions. Anyway, we'll move on to our first topic. Tox, you're saying it was so hard for me not to buy a game for June and waiting for Death Stranding 2. Yeah. Well, I think sometimes it's easier just to look at the games that are coming out, right? You get these game release dates, have a look at what's coming out, highlight what you want, and then just plan around it. I found that really helpful over the last couple of years. So just planning out what you're going to play. Otherwise, it's chaos. So many things come out, you end up buying it, and you don't finish the game, and you move on to your next one. It just gets messy. Bomb Squad, you're saying, I recently had a friend tell me to try Biomutant, and man, I'm having so much fun with it. Biomutant, that's interesting. I've heard of the game, I've not played it myself. DS2 spoilers trailer. Well, these are trailers that were released by Kojima Productions. Hopefully they're not spoilers. I mean, these all came out before the game was released, so I'm just pointing out what they've already released. So there's nothing that we haven't already seen before if you've been kind of building up towards the game. Anyway, let's move on to the first topic, and that's hopefully that's okay. So the first topic is about PlayStation again re-emphasizing their stance, right, on we're going to have none of our first party games go to PlayStation Plus day and date, and also then re-emphasizing that more, I suppose, acknowledgement that more PS3 games need to come to PS5. So, as we always do, let's read from the source material. So we've got an idea of what the kind of context is. So this is, again, PlayStation Universe. multiple sites are reporting the same thing. I've gone to PlayStation Universe, and it goes something like this. So Sony still has no plans to offer first-party games day one for PS Plus members. So speaking during an interview with Stephen Tuttle, Nick Maguire, president of Global Services at PlayStation, said the hardware manufacturer has no plans to offer first-party titles day one for PlayStation Plus. We've sort of stayed true to our strategy across the board, where we're not looking to put games in day and date. Our strategy is finding 4 or 5 independent day and date titles and using that to complement our strategy of bringing games in when they're 12 to 13 months or older. That balance for us is working really well across the platform. PlayStation Plus celebrates its 15th year anniversary later this month, having first launched in late June 2020. Sorry, 2010, not 2020, 2010. Sony began issuing free games monthly for PS3 and later including PS Vita and PlayStation 4 over the next few years, although eventually phased out everything but PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games. However, as of January 2026, PlayStation 4 games are going to become more of a rare offering as Sony shifts focus to offering PlayStation 5 titles. Elsewhere in the interview, Maguire stated that it's possible Sony may offer more PlayStation 3 games for the PS Plus catalogue, which is a format that has arguably been neglected the most as far as PlayStation Plus is concerned. Unlike PS1, PS2 and PSP games, PlayStation 3 titles included in PS Plus have to be streamed. They're not able to be downloaded and played directly off the PlayStation 5. And this is due to a technical issue that stems from the cell processor of the PlayStation 3. That's the gist of the argument there. That's the discussion. So what do you guys make of that? So first of all, we'll park the PlayStation 3 games to one side and we'll just have a look at the PlayStation strategy of keeping games off PlayStation Plus and have them available only to buy. You can only buy PlayStation 5 games physically or digitally for the console. You can't get them on a subscription service. If it's a single player game, you're not going to get it on PlayStation. It's not going to be anywhere else. What do you guys make of that then? What are your thoughts on that? Because we did touch on this in episode 1 of the PlayStation podcast following on from Sony's annual meeting. But do you see this strategy changing of if a single player game is made, the only way you can play it, you have to buy it? Is that a good strategy? Will it encourage more people to buy the console? Or will it say to gamers, well, hang on, we're just going to wait until you drop it into PlayStation Plus in 12 months, 18 months, 2 years, or whenever? So what are your thoughts? Tox, you're saying we need Uncharted 5. Oh man, I'd love Uncharted 5. I would love that game. Question is, which way do they go? Do they continue the story? So it's probably going to be Nathan Drake's daughter, right? Carrying the can for the next, and maybe lean on Nathan to support? Or do you reboot the franchise? Or do you continue with Nathan Drake? GLP Gamer, so you're saying, personally, I think if you want the best quality games, that's how it should be. If they drop them day one into PlayStation Plus, the quality would drop. I agree, GLP. I 100%. Tox, you're agreeing with GLP. Mayasma, you got PlayStation Plus. I have got PlayStation Plus. I did have Game Pass actually as well for a little while. For free. I've got the internet here in the UK and you often get a year or two of Game Pass. Yes, Nathan and his daughter. So a continuation of where we're left off with. Yeah, I'd love a new Uncharted game, to be fair. So GLP, I think you're right here, buddy. I think that's how it should be. Games should be exclusive to the platform before they drop into a subscription service. So, because I've always maintained, right, that Raz, you're saying you agree with it. As long as it does drop onto PS Plus eventually and keep it updated with quality content. Otherwise, it devalues the games and exclusives. Yes, I agree. I think eventually, as long as it goes into PlayStation Plus at some stage, but initially, the game. I'm trying to think who it was that mentioned it. It may have been, could have been Hiroki Totoki. It could have been Herman Hulst. One of them, I think it was Herman Hulst actually, that said by not putting the games into PlayStation Plus day and date, the games retain that value. Right? And I completely agree. I've always maintained from a business perspective that if you want to have people buy your console or invest in your platform, the number one reason why gamers will pick your platform is because you have games. That is the number one reason why somebody will pick a platform. If you strip everything else away, right? We enjoy gaming because of the games. When you strip everything away, take all the bells and whistles away, you have just the games. People will gravitate towards the platform that offers them the games they like. Now, if you don't like Sony first-party games, if you don't like single-player games, that's fine. You can probably pick any platform. But as we can see from the numbers and the console sales and the software sales, people love PlayStation hardware and software. So first and foremost, you have to have games that people want to play. That's the first thing your platform needs. The absolute first thing is you need games, because that's what we're in it for, right? We're in it to play games. Razzie saying don't remove them once they are available. No, I agree. You've got to keep them in there. It's your first party content, isn't it? You keep them in there. So first of all, your platform needs content. It needs games. Secondly, if those games can only be played on your platform. So if those games, in this instance, we're talking about playing a game only available on PlayStation 5 to buy, right? So the only way you're going to play the next Ghost of Yotai, the only way you're going to play that is if you buy the game. So as a consumer, you're going to have to make a choice. The game you want to play is not on PlayStation Plus. It's only available to buy physically on disc, or you're going to have to buy it digitally, whatever you want. But you're going to have to ask yourself that question. Do I go and buy the game now because I really want to play it? Or can I wait for it to either go onto PC or perhaps drop in sale or even drop into PlayStation Plus whenever that may be? That's a choice a consumer has to make. It's the same choice a consumer has to make when they see a new movie that comes out in a cinema. Do I go out and watch it now, enjoy it as it's intended to be watched, or do I wait for it to come into a streaming service or some other kind of form of media? So when the game is exclusive to PlayStation 5, as the sales numbers have shown time and time again, with games like God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima, and other games like third-party content, Final Fantasy, Black Myth Wukong, right? The sales numbers show that people are okay to go out and buy the game, right? Which is exclusively available on PlayStation. They want to play the game, they want to enjoy the experience, and once they're finished, they'll move on to another game. Docs is saying Diablo 4 is going free next month on PlayStation Plus. It's been 2 years since that game released. I think it's a perfect amount of time. 2 years. Yeah. It all depends, doesn't it? I think if a game continues to sell, then the developers, the publisher, they're just going to hold off until those sales numbers hit a certain number. And the data will tell the publisher and the devs, whoever has the final say, now it's the right time to release it into a subscription service, put it onto PC, or whatever that decision is. The data will suggest that. I've got a pint glass full of ice and water. It's so hot in here. So going back to my point, as a business, which Sony is a business, right? Let's not forget that. Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, and the rest, they're all businesses out here to make profit. And when Sony looks at the numbers and sees consoles flying off the shelf and games selling in their millions, even though they're exclusive in most part to PlayStation, Sony's like, yeah, we're not changing. We don't need to change it. It's not broken. We don't need to fix anything. So let's just, keep doing what we're doing. So their strategy, think about this now, their strategy, most AAA studios will spend millions on a game in development. Millions of dollars or pounds or euros or pesos, whatever you want to call it. They'll spend millions, giving the game then plenty of time and opportunity to sell, recoup that development cost, make a little bit of money on top, make some profit. We can invest that profit back into the studio. Let's recruit some new developers, artists, screenwriters, whatever we want. We've got that money, we've got profit in the pot, right? Let's reinvest that back into the studio, develop a new technology, develop AI, develop engine technology, whatever it is. They've got that money now because they've made profit. And then we go again. We make a sequel or we make a new IP. That process works, and that's what's been happening in the gaming industry for the best part of 30, 40, 50 years. You know, other things to consider here. I love buying my games, right? I really enjoy buying my games, owning my games. And whether it's digitally or physically, I prefer physical, right? But not everybody likes to subscribe to subscription services. Sony has had a model where they spend millions developing a game. They release the game for sale. The game sells. They sell millions of units exclusively on PlayStation. Then after the game is sold through, and to your point, Tox, here about Diablo 4, after the game is sold through and the sales numbers or engagement starts to fall, could be after a year, could be after 2 years, maybe even after 5 years. There's no definitive date. There's no definitive marker here. The only marker is when the numbers suggest it's time to move that game to another platform or another service, then Sony, in this instance, will do that. Right? And then, and to your point here, I think it was, who said it? Who said it about, was it one of you guys mentioned it about, yeah, Raz, you said it about not removing it from the service, dropping that game because the time is right into a service, and then leave it in the service because it now offers value to PlayStation Plus subscription service for newcomers who haven't had the chance to play it, or for people who rely purely on subscription services to play their games, which is fine, by the way, but it now offers that person value to have PlayStation Plus. And of course, the game may come to PC at some stage, and Sony has already stated this year that not all games are coming to PC. It's a case-by-case scenario. Once the numbers determine when that right time is, they will release it onto PC and PlayStation Plus. Raz, you're saying purchasing games keeps the developers in business to continue making quality games. PlayStation Plus is a great concept as long as they follow those steps, but I firmly believe access to online multiplayer should be free. I agree with both of those points. I think, first of all, if you're not going to sell your games, you're struggling to recoup that cost. You're relying on millions of people paying a fraction of the price via a subscription service, which you only get a fraction of, right? You get a small percentage of. And that's difficult to take. And I'll talk about this later in the podcast too, from a developer's perspective. I do believe access to online multiplayer should be free. It used to be free. Yeah, Tox, you're saying, yeah, it was. Oh, it's still free on PS3. It used to be free on PlayStation. And Xbox introduced pricing, a cost model. Sony being a business, they copied them. And so now it's no longer free. But I think that's one thing that these companies should be doing, is getting rid of the paywall to play free online games on your console for free, because you can do it on PC. So you shouldn't be paying to play online on your console. That's not really acceptable in this day and age. Raz, you saying PlayStation Plus should just be that, a plus to provide access to more games or cloud storage, etc. as a subscription. Yeah, absolutely. Think back to this point about exclusive games, subscription services. I go back to I can barely remember the 80s. Just about. If games came out, right? Games came out onto the Atari. If you liked those games, you had to buy an Atari. If you liked a Sega game, you had to buy a Sega. If you liked a Nintendo game, you had to buy a Nintendo. I don't think back then it was very rare that somebody would make games for all platforms. You might get the odd one, but it was third party it wasn't as common back then, let's put it that way. But really you had to invest in a platform or multiple platforms if you wanted to play those games. The idea of exclusives are bad is laughable. Yeah, it's laughable. Exclusives is what's been driving the industry forward for years. And without exclusive content, you don't have the number one thing that people want, which is the games. Right? You might have the nicest consoles, you might have the nicest piece of tech inside your consoles, you might even be able to play across all of your devices, but if you don't have the games the platform is of no interest to the vast majority of gamers. Think about it, right? The games is why we enjoy playing games, right? That's what we enjoy. The other thing that makes it nicer, things like having ray tracing, 60 frames, haptics, VR modes, all these are fantastic things. They complement the game so much. But if you don't have the game, those things are irrelevant. So you got to have good games to start with, games that people are interested in. That's what Sony's trying to do. But going back to Sony's point about not placing their brand new first-party games into PlayStation Plus and also making their games exclusives is absolutely the way it should be. It has nothing to do with being consumer-friendly, right? It's just simple business. And by way of comparison, look at this, right? We're seeing this firsthand. We're seeing it happen in front of our eyes. What happens when your strategy is all over the place? Just look, right? Just look at this, not in a fanboyish or a toxic way. Just look at what's happening with Xbox, right? A fantastic console. The 360 days were amazing, brilliant. Competition. Sony was being destroyed by Xbox. 360 was fantastic. Sony turned it around. They turned the ship around, but they lost billions. They lost around $4 billion during the PS3 era, right? But ever since then, it's been going downhill for Xbox. And look at what's happening now to console sales, the hardware sales, game sales. It's just not happening, is it? As a platform, the hardware sales are in decline, so badly in decline. And this is a combination of Series X and Series S that they are now the worst generation ever, even worse than the Xbox One generation, which was considered the worst ever generation. Games on Xbox do not sell as expected. Some people use discounts on Game Pass to buy their games, which is absolutely fine. That's fantastic. If it helps you get a better discount, no one can complain about that. But the numbers and the statistics and the facts tell you that a large number of gamers on Xbox are not buying that many games. Unless games go directly into Game Pass, the games do not sell well. And it's what happens when the vast majority of gamers on one platform have been conditioned for such a long time to expect games for free via Game Pass. And it's the same exact reason why Sony does not want to offer their biggest budget games. I say biggest budget. They don't want to offer their biggest AAA games in a subscription service, right? They don't want to put it into PlayStation Plus day and day. And you shouldn't expect games, AAA games, for free via a subscription service. It just shouldn't happen. Not brand new games. It's just the idea of expecting brand new products in the gaming industry, AAA games at that level, when a studio spent plus $100 million on it. It's just, I don't know where that comes from. That mentality, I don't get it. Toxie saying it was Xbox's fault. GLP Gaming saying one thing that annoyed you is the this gen is backup saves is now paywalled. Games are the priority, you're saying, Raz. Toxie saying facts. Yeah, I mean, it is what it, you know, I don't, maybe it's because I'm older, maybe I don't, maybe it's just a young thing that you expect PS Plus, Xbox Game Pass, you expect AAA content in there, brand new content. I don't expect it. I don't expect the next Ghost of Yotai to go into PlayStation Plus. It's ridiculous. I expect them to sell it for as long as possible at full price. I expect that game to be full price for a year at least. Maybe this time next year, because it's out in October, right? Maybe next year in September, October, maybe the game has a bit of a sale. I don't know. But I expect it to be, you know, it's a flagship title. Why would you put it into sale? Why would you put it into a subscription service? A flagship title. You know, it took 5 years, right? Was it 5 years, 4 years? 4 or 5 years for Ghost of Tsushima to land into PC. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Raz, 100%. Could you imagine GTA 6 on Game Pass day one? No way. They're going to make $1 billion in less than 24 hours. Why the hell are they going to release it into a subscription service, whether it's Game Pass or PS Plus? Straight away, it devalues the value of the game. I mean, we know it's GTA 6 and we know how good the game's going to be, so that's an exceptional circumstance. But whenever you drop a game, a big game, I'll say a big game because there is a difference with smaller games going into subscription services. That I'll come on to that in a moment. How you doing, Eastern Conference Gaming? How you doing, buddy? We're just talking about PlayStation, Sony reiterating their stance, I suppose, on not putting out their first-party games into PlayStation Plus day and date. So, lost my trail of thought. I forgot what I was saying now. Yeah, GTA 6 will make billions. Billions. So, yeah. So, this talk about putting AAA, I'm going to call it AAA content, is because it doesn't count for every game. AAA content, right? Putting that content into subscription services. Multiple studios have come out in the past. Developers, studios, industry experts have come out and said the same thing. Relying purely on subscription services, it's not sustainable unless you have unlimited money. So companies like Sony, you can do that. You can put it into Game Pass. You can put it into PlayStation Plus. But why don't you wait first? Wait a year or two. Sell it first. Try selling it. See if people buy it. Because if you make a good game, people will buy it. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. People don't mind paying for games that they like. People don't mind paying for content. And that's good. If you make a rubbish game and you advertise it differently, that's a problem. If you make a game that doesn't work, that's a problem. But if you make good games with good story, good cinematics, good gameplay, people don't mind paying for that because that's the way of life, isn't it? You pay for things you want. The idea of expecting high quality, big brand items to be free just because you subscribe to a service is unimaginable on any other platform. And Sony is looking at all this happening right now on Xbox, and they're just saying, nah, we ain't doing this. We're not doing this, right? It's not happening. Eastern Conference Gaming is saying GTA 6 doing $1 billion in 39 minutes. We're in the digital age now. Last GTA come out, these online stores wasn't. Yep. Like the last GTA that came out, GTA 5, there was a queue around the block. Big shopping centre in the UK. It's great though, because I pre-ordered mine, went straight to the front of the queue. Yeah, those days of queuing for products is it's gone. It's sad in a way because those midnight launches were fantastic. So the other thing you have to consider, I mentioned it earlier, you have to think of this from a developer's perspective, right? You're a developer, right? You're working on the latest game, or I don't know, whatever it is, whatever AAA game you're working on. You and your buddies, 200, 300, 400, 500 developers just working on this game for 4, 5, 6 years. Right? You've poured your heart and soul into this game. You've done a bit of crunch. You've made the game as best as it can be. You spent years developing this game, right? And you want to see how people are going to react. Kojima, right? He wants to see how people are going to react to Death Stranding 2. You know, you're the guys at Guerrilla Games. You want to see how people are going to react to the next Killzone. You're the guys at Naughty Dog. You want to see how people are going to react to The Last of Us 3. Are they going to hate it? Are they going to love it? You're making the next Insomniac game. You want to see how people are going to react to your game, whether it's Wolverine that comes out, right? You want to see people's reactions. You want to see their joy when they play your games. But you also want to see rewards. You want to see your game sell so you can take that profit and the revenue and help grow your studio. But when they see their games drop into a subscription service day and date, how does that make the developer feel? How does it make you feel if your game goes into a subscription service? How many did we sell? I don't know, but we have 1 million players playing. Is that good? Is that going to save us? How does that make you feel? Yeah, you spent years making a game, but your only metric is player engagement, maybe microtransactions. It's disheartening, especially for the bigger studios. And I said the smaller studios, slightly different case here because they're not as exposed, I suppose, as the bigger studios. Their outlay is a little bit less, right? The smaller studios have a lower budget, lower cost. So if you're an indie studio, AA studio, actually it might be a good thing for you to have your game drop into a subscription service because it allows you to get exposure that you want. Because you want that. You need that as a small studio. So I get the case for indies, which is why Sony have said we'll try to bring 4 or 5 indie games out day and day. And it works for indie studios. You get the exposure you need. You haven't spent 100 million. You've probably spent a couple of million on the game. Maybe less, right? So it works. And then I talked about the metrics, engagement, right? Metrics are important. I think Corey mentioned it last week on the podcast. Metrics are important. They are important, right? You measure, how many people are playing the game, player engagement. I understand all that, and I understand it's important. It tells you how many people are progressing, how far people have got in the game, how are they finding it, are they collecting the trophies, are they still playing, what microtransactions are working, which ones are not, do we need to tweak that? Those statistics are important, but the number one statistic, the number one stat, you're not even measuring. How many units did you sell? That's the number one thing you should be measuring. And that's what Sony's doing, right? Let's sell the game. Let's sell it first. You know what? Anybody can give anything away for free. You know that, right? You can give anything you want for free. No one's going to complain about it because it's free, right? But when you have to ask people to pay for something, part way with your cash, then it matters. Then it counts. So you've got to get people to buy your games first. And that's what Sony is doing. That's what they're doing. They're asking people, hey guys, look, we're going to make this great AAA game, single player, cinematic, story, narrative driven. It's the kind of stuff you like. It's not live service. It's not multiplayer. Single player. 60 hours plus, give or take. 40 hours plus, give or take, right? Pay for it. It's going to cost you £70 in the UK, $70. You'll enjoy it. You'll love it. And then, you know what? In a year, we're going to put it into PlayStation Plus. Maybe 2 years, we're going to drop it into PlayStation Plus. Yeah, I'll have that. And if you don't want that, then maybe just wait for PlayStation Plus to have the game come onto it and you can enjoy it that way. But it shocks me. The one stat, the one measurement you need is how many did we sell? Because once you sell them, then you can measure everything. You can measure the microtransaction. Did people buy the DLC? Are people buying cosmetics? You can measure all that. That's okay. But the number one statistic you need to do to record it is how many did you sell? Engagement doesn't pay the bills. Remember that. I mean, we're talking about single player games. I know there's games that are built specifically, like live service games. They are built specifically for engagement. They are built specifically for in-game microtransactions. I get it. But we're talking about Sony and their single player games. And for single player games, you've got to sell them. And then if you have everything, if you want cosmetics in there and you want people to pay extra, then that's fine. But the number one thing you got to do first is sell your game. So, and I will say, if we, the consumers, right, if we want better games and we want studios to make better products for us, stories, better games, better cinematics, and if we're going to demand that from the studios, expect to pay for it. It's only fair, right? And that strategy of keeping first-party games exclusive to the console hardware is perfect. And when it's time, those games will release onto PlayStation Plus. I think that works. Where's Corey? He's probably finishing DS2. Yeah, he's probably getting the platinum trophy for that. So, just another thing. So I mentioned PlayStation Plus there, right? And I mentioned Game Pass. There's nothing wrong with playing games via a subscription service. I've said this before plenty of times. There's nothing wrong with subscription services. If you've got large family, if you've got lots of people in the household interested in gaming, if you've got kids who enjoy gaming, right? Having Game Pass or PlayStation Plus is great. You get free games for the kids every month, right? You don't have to go out of your way to constantly buy new games. You know what kids are like? They always want a new game every 2 or 3 weeks. So you've got lots of games. You can then focus on the 1 or 2 games that you want to pay for when the time's right, all the while knowing that the kids will be taken care of via the subscription services. Or financially, if subscription services work for you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having subscription services as an additional service to the platform. Absolutely fine. Tox is saying we need to support the studios. 100%. 100%. And what I will say, remember, right? It's an important point. Remember, if you subscribe to a subscription service, regardless of the tier that you're subscribing to, you are renting games. You're renting games to play via a subscription service. You don't own those games. When free games are available to download from PS Plus, right? We get 3-4 games every month to download. Those games are free because of the rental payments to PlayStation Plus. If a game is then remastered and I'm using this example very specifically. Days Gone Remastered came out, right? There was an option to upgrade the remastered version. If that option is not available for you, don't get upset. Don't complain about not being able to upgrade it for $10 or £10. Don't come across as someone who is entitled for a free upgrade to a remastered version of a game you never paid for in the first place. Remember, you are renting games in exchange for a monthly fee. If you did not buy a game from PlayStation Plus, then you don't own it, right? You're just renting games. The stuff you download from there to play, it's just available for you because you've got PlayStation Plus. The minute you cancel the subscription, it's all gone. So you don't have the right to demand or request a free upgrade. Even if you want to pay the extra £10 or the $10 to upgrade it. And I mentioned Days Gone specifically because a couple of people have commented about, they've got PlayStation Plus, they had the free game, and they never had the option to upgrade for $10. It's not going to happen because you didn't pay for the original game. It won't work like that. You have to have the original game. If you bought the original game on PlayStation 4 when it came out, you can upgrade to the remastered version for $10. That is the beauty of owning your own games. I think it was important just to mention that because subscription services are fine, but you are only renting those games. Remember that. Toxie saying Days Gone 2, please. Yes, we need a Days Gone 2. That conversation's been going on for a long time. Days Gone 2, we need that. And then there was another part in that about the PlayStation 3, right? We had a comment about PlayStation 3 being mentioned. So Sony have come out. They have recognized that they need to put more PlayStation 3 games into the PlayStation 5 catalog. But the problem is, from a gamer's perspective, because I'm sure lots of people have looked at this, we want to be able to and have the ability to download PlayStation 3 games on PlayStation 5, not to stream them. It can sometimes be a little bit choppy streaming them. I mean, I still have my original PlayStation 3, the original fat PlayStation 3. I've got that. I've disconnected it for now because I'm doing a bit of work around the studio here. But typically, it's connected, it's hooked up, and I can pop into a game shop or like CEX in the UK. There's loads of PlayStation 3 games for like under a tenner. Some excellent games which sometimes I'll play, but they say it's about the PlayStation 3 architecture. Surely, how big of a problem is this really? Come on. Is it just a case of there's not a big demand for PlayStation 3 games in 2025? And maybe Sony doesn't want to commit a small team to make this transition work. Could it be that simple? Because when I was thinking about this, when I was thinking about the Toxic saying fat PS3, yeah, the original fat PS3 is fantastic. A heck of a machine, that. A heck of a workout with it as well. When I was thinking about this podcast today and making some notes for the stream, I was thinking about the PS3 problem, and it got me thinking about the PlayStation 6. We know that for the first time, and this was mentioned a couple of weeks ago, but for the first time, the PlayStation 5 generation has now more monthly active users than the PlayStation 4 generation. It's taken 5 years to get to this place. 5 years to get more people on PlayStation 5 than on PlayStation 4. How is Sony going to move more gamers from PlayStation 5 to PlayStation 6? How is that going to happen? How are they going to do that? We all know the generational leap from one console to the next is not as big as it used to be. So, and we know that Sony is going to support cross-gen for the next 3 to 4 years. They will not say, we believe in generations again. They dare say that. They won't say that again, right? So what's it going to take to get people to move from PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, PlayStation 5 Pro to purchase the PlayStation 6? Because I'm not talking about people like me, because I like tech. I'm an early adopter. I like buying gadgets. So I'm already in. Whether it comes out tomorrow or next year, I'm down straight away. I'll be getting it. Whether I need it or not, it's irrelevant. I'm just going to get it. But what about the rest of the people? What about the everyday person, right? Who's not into gaming and stuff like that every day? I mean, they don't mind playing once a week or play with the kids. But how do you get people off the older consoles onto the PlayStation 6? How are they going to do that? It just got me thinking, talking about the PlayStation 3. Razi saying you like options. Renting with a subscription is a great extra, but don't go the route of taking away my ability to actually own a game. Put it on a disc, cartridge, and yeah. Yeah, it's not great. Sub services are fine if you play lots of games and clear lots of games weekly or monthly. I don't have the time for that. I still have PlayStation Plus. Maybe I don't need it, in all honesty. Toxie saying, is your PS3 the backward compatible model? Yeah, it was the original one that came out. I think I'm pretty sure it's a 60 gig version, 60 gig model. Razi saying no plastic cases with nothing in it but an access. Yeah, that I don't like the Nintendo Switch 2 model of. It's a key, isn't it? It's a key code in the cartridge box, but it's a digital game you have to download. It stops people from trading in their games. It's one of the reasons why companies are adopting to it. It keeps you locked into the system. So a lot of people like to buy physical games, play the game, and then you can take your physical copy and sell it and exchange it, and that's fine. People have been trading games for years. But those practices by Nintendo will stop people from trading their games. Sad to see, really, but it's going to become more and more apparent. So the longer we keep buying physical, the slower the process is. The Indiana Jones collector's edition was just an empty case. Yeah, more and more of these collector's editions just don't have any discs. It don't make sense, really, does it? You're collecting a collector's edition. How about a game, a physical game? No, we'll give you a code. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, partial download's bad as well. So, how do we get people moving from... this conversation's gone a bit sideways, but how do we get people moving from existing consoles to PlayStation 6? Now, I don't think this will happen. I don't understand how realistic this is, but I think something like this would need to happen where Sony just come out and say, look, here's the PlayStation 6. You can plug in any game from PlayStation 1 through to PlayStation 6. Just put your disc in and it'll play every game, right? Or go to your digital library and download your games straight onto the console. Every PlayStation console game available to play on the PlayStation 6, every one will work. All games will have performance boost and game stability with improved visuals thanks to PSSR 2.0 or 3.0, whichever version's out running at the time. Will that be enough to get more gamers to pick up the PlayStation 6 on launch? I mean, it's an interesting question. I doubt it will happen because another thing to consider is if you start putting your PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 5s, all those games on PlayStation 6 or available, then it makes the PS Plus subscription redundant. You don't need PS Plus really. For the older gamers, the younger gamers haven't really had a PlayStation console before. They might not buy PS1, PS2 games. It's an interesting question. I don't know if it's ever going to happen, but it's it's kind of a thought-provoking question about how people are migrated over to PlayStation 6 when eventually that does come out. Yeah, Raz, you're liking the idea, yeah? Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point, isn't it? Yeah, how are you going to get people to move over to PS6? What are you going to say? There's nothing you can say because there's still going to be over 100 million gamers using the PlayStation 5. There's no way Sony is leaving them behind. So you're going to have cross-gen games for the first 3 or 4 years. We know that. We had cross-gen games this gen. So, and having cross-gen games just means that more PlayStation 5 games exclusive to that platform are going to be held back until more console users have purchased the PS6. So if we want more exclusive games for PS6, more people need to jump to that platform. The only thing I could think of was if you could say to people, look, PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, all those games work on PS6. It might convince people to say, you know what? One machine plays all my PlayStation games. Yeah, I love that. Just a thought. Toxie saying, if Sony keeps coming out with Pro editions, I might just wait for the PS6 Pro. Yeah, a lot of people have said that in some of the comments in the videos. What they're doing is they're going from Pro to Pro. So those who've just bought the PS5 Pro won't get the PS6 base or original when it comes out, because games will be cross-gen and it'll be very close to the PS5 Pro in terms of performance. But if you get the PS6 Pro, that'll be a leap up and you'll go from PS5 Pro to PS6 Pro. I know a lot of people have commented on things like that, very similar to that. Lawrence, you're saying PS6 has to be a huge leap in tech, backwards compatible, the right price, exclusive PS6 games, like the rumor of the next Xbox being $1,000 is an insane console. Yeah, I agree. I agree. The thing is, right, what a lot of people are kind of getting mixed up with is just because the PlayStation 5 Pro was priced at £730 odd in the UK, it doesn't mean the next PlayStation 6 will be priced at a similar price. Getting people to buy your base console is about mass adoption of a product. And the only way you get mass adoption of a product is if the price is right. Having that price on the PS6 as $1,000 or $800 or $700 is too much. So Sony's going to have to think of a way to keep that PlayStation 6 to start with. Maybe they're selling it at a loss to start with. I mean, the PS5 was sold at a loss and Sony was in profit on every PS5 console within 2 years. So maybe they adopt something similar. You sell it at a loss, you sell it for $500, you sell it for a couple of years, and then we'll start to make it profitable. And then we'll introduce the PlayStation 6 Pro, and that is for the enthusiasts, right? The tech enthusiasts, the adopters who want that extra bit of tech, that extra bit of horsepower, but we're going to sell that at a profit. And that's what the PS5 Pro is. It's a console that is being sold from day one at a profit, not at a loss. And I think the other thing that will help Sony do that is they will sell the PlayStation 6 as an all digital console. It won't have a disc. You should be able to use your PS5 Pro disc, separate disc case. You'll be able to use that. But it will be a digital console. I think the days of consoles coming with disc drives attached, I think those days are gone. I think people who want to be able to use their existing discs, I think you'll still have to use your PS5 Pro attachable disc drive on the actual PS6. Lawrence is saying get gamers into the console and sell them on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to make sure the price is right because, like I say, times are tough. There's not going to be much of a difference between the PlayStation 5 Pro, the PS6. That technological leap is getting smaller and smaller. We're talking about things that visually you might not even be able to see. The way AI behaves in games, the way games are designed, not necessarily things you can see straight away. So it's hard to sell people on a new console, on a new platform. And so you might have to make the price sensible. You take out the disk drive. It's less costs in assembly, less costs in materials, and you get the consumer to pay for it. And that's what I think will happen, unfortunately. But if the price is right, you get people to adopt it, and then you sell them on the software and subscriptions and other things. That seems to be the model. I think that's what will happen. Anyway, fascinating talking about the PS6. Fascinating. I don't know how we got onto that topic, but Sony have committed to having more PS3 games available to play on the PlayStation 5. However, they will be available via streaming and not downloading to your PS5, which is the disappointing thing. How are you guys feeling about PlayStation 3 games being stream only? You can't download them on the PlayStation 5 platform. It is disappointing. Do you think there's a big enough demand to have a team work on figuring out why we can't download it? Is it worth that investment, or is it time just to let the PS3 era go and look forward to PlayStation 6 era and the next evolution of PSSR technology? Toxie saying Sony was selling the PlayStation 5 at a loss and also had a shortage. Some of these companies went through hell. Yep, 100%. They went through terrible times, but they turned it around. There's been lots of problems. You consider where particularly, the PlayStation platform is right now in terms of market position, software sales, hardware sales and the problems, live service, studios closure, supply chain shortages, all these kind of problems that everybody's had, and it's coming out the other end, and we're now looking forward to some big first party AAA games over the next 2 to 3 years, and then we'll be moving on to a new console generation by the sounds of it. Toxie saying Sony is going to sell so many consoles when GTA 6 comes out. Yeah, they'll hit more than 100 million next year. They will hit those figures as soon as when they get those console bundles coming out, right, with the GTA 6. We still haven't seen we still haven't seen a playable demo on the PlayStation 5 Pro. That wasn't shown when Rockstar did the initial demo, and they declared that it was a base PS5 model. Toxie saying the whole PS3 games not being able to run on a PlayStation 5 thing is really disappointing to gamers. There are lots of PS3 games locked to that console. There are. Yeah, there are. I think because it was announced on that news article that next year, January 2026, there are going to be less PS4 games on the platform. So I think that's it. That I think Sony's just not washing their hands, but I think they're just moving away now, looking forward to PlayStation 5 only, the odd PlayStation 4, and that's it. Streaming, maybe PS3, some games on the platform, but I think they're done with it. I think they're done. Okay, guys. I think we're ready to move on, right? Are we ready to move on to the next topic? Are we ready to talk about Death Stranding 2? Let me know in the chat. We are. We will move on. So I think we should. There we go. I think we should move on to. Yeah, Toxie saying let's go. I think we should move on to the next topic because I've been wanting to talk about Death Stranding 2. Spoiler free, of course. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the chat. But very excited to play Death Stranding 2. Very keen. I got the game on Thursday and booted it up. Started my playthrough on Friday, really. And I started with the 17-page intro. Like I said, I want to experience everything with the game. I don't want to feel like I've missed something. So that's why I cleared pretty much all of July to take my time with the game. So I started off with the recap. I thought it was really good. Went into the detail that I wanted. And even at the beginning of the game, just how you start off that game, right? I want to experience everything. I want to explore what Kojima has done in this world. And right away, as the game starts, literally, you start off on the mountain, right? It is breathtaking. It is absolutely, dare I say, it's like photorealistic. That scene at the start, absolutely incredible. Standing there, Rocky Mountains, looking around. That opening sequence in the game was just, I was in awe of that. And they've got this nice little feature. I think it's the R3 button, right? And it allows you to just zoom out. And as you're walking, making your way home, the camera pans out. It looks absolutely fantastic, breathtaking. I'll also add to that. I know Kojima's mentioned it a few times. The soundtrack that was playing in the background as you're making your way home was brilliant. Love that. I don't even know what it's called. Love that soundtrack. That opening sequence is fantastic. So I'm about 8 to 10 hours into the game, right? And there's definitely moments in the game when you look at it and you think to yourself, am I playing Metal Gear Solid 5 here? Have you guys had that where you think to yourself, hang on a second, is this MGS5? especially when you encounter the what are they, the bandits, the enemies, right? And I've done the stupid thing of having too many items on my backpack. So I'm there trying to hide. I'm not giving anything away. I'm not spoiling anything, but I'm trying to hide in the tall grass, and they can see like the mountain of stuff I've got on my backpack. And obviously you get spotted, and it makes this funny noise like Metal Gear Solid makes, right? That kind of trumpet noise. I thought it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And then you got the option, I think, of dropping your backpack. Absolutely fantastic. That for me is a kind of a dynamic change, because it goes from a Death Stranding game to an action game as soon as you drop your rucksack or your backpack. And in terms of, because I think I don't know who mentioned it last week. I think it was Alien that mentioned it last week. He mentioned something about, because I know he likes guns and only guns. Literally, I'm pretty sure it's the first mission or the second mission, very early on, within the first couple of hours, you get, I mean, I got a firearm. I got 2 assault rifles. I got the enemy, I don't know what it's called, the spear with the electrical charge that comes out. I picked one of them up. I think it's quite action heavy in comparison to the first game. Toxie saying the ambient sound is superb. Music fits the mood also. Absolutely feel like I'm playing a Metal Gear Solid game 100%. Yeah, it really does. I think it plays in 2 ways. You know, you're doing the missions, you're doing the delivery elements, and you have choices to sneak or to take on the enemies. But when you do take on the enemies and you drop your backpack, it kind of changes. It changes into this action game, and to me, it's Metal Gear Solid. You can definitely see Kojima leaning on his experience, right? You can definitely see that. I also like the idea that you get choices in the game about how you tackle a segment, a level, how you tackle that part in the mission. So you can go and mark out on your map your route, and you get to see pretty much where the bandits are. So you can plan on avoiding that area if possible, or you can go directly towards the bandits. And I've picked the bandit route every time so far, and it's been fantastic. There was one moment where actually I tried to avoid the bandits, and I got caught out with the rain, and all of a sudden the river swells, and I got swept away with the river. So I like that environmental change in the game. It makes you think differently. But yeah, it's good that you get to see where the bandit camps are, and you can pick that route or you can avoid it altogether. I think you've got the freedom to decide on how you want to play the game, whether you want to go down the action route or you want to play more stealth. Tox is saying you've always used the non-lethal weapon in all of the Metal Gear Solid games. This game is no exception. Yeah, it's a really good game. You know, it's I'm very early on yet, so I just want to continue that journey in the game. I've also been caught out with the Timefall rain. How you doing, Petrov, buddy? How you doing? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about being late. We've got plenty of time. Plenty of time. I've been caught out with the Timefall rain. I took my backpack off in the tall grass so I can take care of the bandits. And obviously it's raining, and the rain ages everything, right? And things deteriorate over time. And I'm getting all these messages pop up on my screen saying certain items in the backpack are now destroyed. So I'm running around trying to find the repair aerosol. I don't know. I'm terrible with names. But my advice to anyone playing the game is make sure you've got plenty of repair aerosol handy. Make sure you've got that. There's little things like that I like about the game. You know, you can't just drop your backpack, go off and have a combat mission, part of the mission, come back, pick your bag up and carry on. You've got to take into consideration what's going to happen to the supplies. I like those elements. I thought they were really good. Yeah, so from my perspective, what I've seen in the game, what I've played so far, very early on, I keep saying very early on, 8 to 10 hours, best looking game I've played on the PlayStation 5 by far. By a country mile, I would say. Best looking game. What do you think, guys? So Petrov is saying, is DS2 full of Kojima magic? 100%. 100%. Toxie saying yes, at least one repair spray. Yeah, I think I think I'm overdoing it with my backpack because I'm carrying like 3 assault rifles, the handgun or the side firearm. I've got a couple of spears and 2 lots of aerosol sprays, the repair spray. And so my backpack is like so high. I feel sorry for Sam the Porter. He's got so much to carry. But yeah, it's been a really, really enjoyable experience so far. Really enjoying it. And one of the reasons why is because I'm taking my time through the game. I don't feel like I have to rush to move on to the next game. I feel I can just take my time. If I can clear 10 to 12 hours a week for the next 4 or 5 weeks, I'm happy at that pace. And it gives me a chance to explore. But something else I'm going to add here to this, right? And this is kind of ties in with the discussion we were having in part 1 about PlayStation not putting games directly into a subscription. So it kind of ties in with that. So I don't want to change the topic, but yeah, Death Stranding 2, right, it's a single player narrative heavy game, right? Cinematic. It's rich, right, in cinematics, brilliant gameplay. It's got action, cinematography, music. Petrov, yes, better than Death Stranding 1. Yeah, you're within the first minute of the game, it feels better in every way. And that's not saying the first one was bad. It's just saying how good the second one is. In the first couple of minutes, you'll realize how good it is. But this game is rich in everything, all right? Cinematic, story, action, music is fantastic. It just fits. It just works, right? The game wants to pull at your heartstrings. It's got that emotional connection. It wants you to connect with the game in some way, shape, or form, right? The level of game design is brilliant. The immersion's fantastic. All that can only be achieved if you are creating a game for one platform, right? You can really spend your time, take your time, and optimize the game perfectly for one platform. Unless you're Rockstar and you've got thousands of developers working on a game for multiple years like GTA 6 or Red Dead Redemption, you can only achieve this type of quality when your development team are not having to worry about microtransactions, online multiplayer, live service, or creating for multiple different platforms. Death Stranding 2 is coming out on one platform, PlayStation 5. That's it. Yeah, they'll port it next year onto PC, maybe 2 years' time onto Xbox, but right now, one platform. So they've got time to optimize the game, right? The devs don't have to worry about casual gamers. Are they going to like this game? Right? They're not having to worry about, is a casual gamer going to be enticed by this style of play? They're not worried about, can someone just pick this up and play? Those questions are not being considered when Death Stranding 2 is being developed. Death Stranding 2 is the artistic creation of Hideo Kojima. He shared his vision with Sony and his development team, and they have bought in fully to his vision. And as a result, they've created Death Stranding 2, which is a masterpiece so far. I can only comment on the bits that I've played. And I've only played less than 10 hours, just under 10 hours. So some people are going to look at this game and feel, it's not right for me. That's okay. Some people are going to look at this game and say, I don't like the story. That's okay. Some people are going to look at this game and think, I don't like the creative vision. Guess what, guys? That's okay. Because the thing is, many people will pick this up and they'll love it. And this game is not for everyone, but a lot of people are going to like this. And as Hideo Kojima has said himself, his vision is about what he wants to deliver. Some people are going to like it, some people are not, but he's not compromising on that vision. And this is what you can achieve when you spend time focusing on one platform optimizing the game to be the best it can be. And that's what I like. I love it when developers just stick to their guns on certain things about games. He doesn't want this game to be, I don't want to say mainstream, right? But there's no kind of cut and paste elements in the game. There's no random fetch quests in what I've seen. There's no endless loop cycles that feel a little bit empty. There's real depth in the game. The characters feel alive. The world, right, deliberately creates this sense of loneliness and isolation. And you see it in the game. It's brilliant. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Toxic saying cinematics ooze Kojima quality. Yeah, they do. 100%. Toxic saying, did I get to the first boss? I got to the let me think. Right, the first boss I got to was in Mexico. And they get the portal where they're kind of in communication with Australia. That's the bit. That's the bit that I've got to. I'm looking forward to getting to Australia next. Hopefully that's the next bit. But yeah, loving it. So I'm about 8 to 10 hours in, and I'm planning on my week this week will be trying to get another 10 hours in by Friday. And then by episode 4 of the PlayStation podcast next Sunday, hopefully I'm around 25 hours in, something in that region, I'd like to think. And we can have a further update discussion on how we're getting on with the game. And I just want to say one more thing about Death Stranding 2. So I'm mindful, I don't want to say too much about the game in case you haven't played it. A huge shout out to Guerrilla Games and the Decima engine. Just wow. Absolutely fantastic. Incredible piece of technology. I love it when PlayStation studios show off their in-house custom build game engine. It's really impressive piece of technology, and Kojima Productions has done a fantastic job with Guerrilla Games showcasing what the Decima engine can do on this game, guys. But in terms of Death Stranding 2, my goodness, if you haven't played it, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for, guys? So, Tox, Petrov, guys, how are you getting on with this game? Have you guys started? Are you where are you in? How many hours into the game have you played? So I'm mindful of, I don't want to say too much in case there's people in the chat or people can watch the video later. So I don't want to say too much. Let people enjoy it. Have that experience for yourself for the first time. It's an incredible game. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, let me know if you're ready to move on to the next topic. So Tox, you're saying you're about 15 hours in. You're in love with the game. Fantastic. The one thing I do like, the one thing I really enjoy in the game is, for me anyway, because like I said, I want to take my time with it, just kind of the exploration side, just looking around, traversal, figuring out how things work in the world, trying to explore yourself. You're sometimes going off route because you plan your own route. I'm really enjoying that side of it too. Just seeing what's happening in the world. It's incredible. I mean, at the minute I'm making my way through Mexico, so keen to see what the kind of the Australia map, Australia continent looks like in the game. That's something I want to, really looking for. Hopefully I'll get to that part during the week. So let's have a look at the next part, guys. Let's move on to the next topic, and this is it's more about Microsoft getting into the VR space, right? PSVR2 has been on my mind for quite some time, and I've committed to buying it this year. I'm going to get it, right? And I was thinking about getting it later this year, but I've had a voucher come through, a discount code come through, so I might get it sooner. Petrov, you're saying you're going to buy it. Lovely, that's good. I think you'll have a fantastic experience. And Raz, you're starting Death Stranding 1 tonight. It's been in your system as a PS Plus game for a while. All the DS2 hype is finally kicking you in. So it's kicked you in the ass to get on the bandwagon. Excellent stuff. Excellent. Well, DS1 is good. Good game. It takes a little while to get into it, but once you get into it, it's a great experience. Then you can move straight into Death Stranding 2. Ramsey saying, did I get the 20% off code in email? Yes, I got the 20% code about 3 or 4 days ago. I put a post out on the channel about what I think is a pretty decent deal. So the PlayStation VR with 20% off in the UK is £320. That's pretty decent. 320 quid, right? So I got the code, and you get the code because it's the PlayStation Plus 15-year anniversary. And I went onto the PlayStation Direct store and wanted to see if the code would work on PSVR2. And some of you are aware I'm going to get a VR headset later this year. And I was surprised when the code worked actually on the PSVR2. I was actually pretty surprised. I went back and checked the email, and it says in the email pretty clearly, you can use it on the PSVR2. You can use it on hardware, accessories, and games. There's only a couple of items that don't actually allow the code, but you can use it on most things on the PlayStation Store Direct. So I typed it in, and yeah, it came up as your total cost is £320 if you proceed. I haven't proceeded yet. I haven't gone through with it yet. There's a reason why, though. So Miyasama, you're saying you gave the PSVR away. You didn't use it much either. Okay. Raz, you saw the post. Haven't seen it in your email yet. Don't know if it's different in the US. I don't know. Apparently, US, UK. I think the kind of Australia region, parts of Europe. I don't know what the rules are. I don't know how you qualify. I don't know how long you have to have had PlayStation Plus for in order for you to get the 20% off. But my question was going to be, Xbox is coming into the VR space. Is it a good time with a discount to buy a PSVR 2, or is it a good thing to buy the Xbox Meta Quest? That was my discussion. PSVR 2 or Xbox Meta Quest. Petrov, you're saying you've never played a VR game before. Raz, you keep checking your email. You've got a lot to sift through. I've only played a couple of VR games at a mate's place, and fantastic. Just it's a different experience. My only criticism with two things about VR. One is motion sickness. I'm worried about motion sickness, and the other one was every time I see a VR game, most of the time the VR games are a little bit kind of AA, smaller kind of indie titles. Sometimes like kids games. I'm not really interested in that. A Call of Duty first-person view in VR. Yeah, I'm interested. Stuff like that. Gran Turismo in VR mode, which I know is available. I'd be interested in that. So if there's more games that look and feel like AAA experiences, I'd be more interested in picking one up straight away. But I think the time has come to invest in a PSVR 2. So I did a little bit of research, and I've got some pros and cons about the PSVR 2 and the Xbox Meta Quest. We'll have a look at them. So Miyasumi is saying it's worth a look to see, but the novel wears off. Yeah, I mean, I don't plan on playing using the PSVR 2 every single day. I think there's certain games I want to experience. I don't mind playing it, once or twice a month or once or twice every couple of months for specific games. My kind of the bread and butter, if you like, the day-to-day experience is going to be on the PlayStation 5 Pro on my OLED screen. That's my experience. And the PSVR 2 will just complement certain games when I want to play with the PSVR 2, or use the cinema mode on the PSVR 2 and it feels like you're playing at the cinema, which is, I think, a pretty decent experience. Raz, you're saying, as far as motion sickness, you've had the same problem. I'm going to try the advice Alien gave you in the Capcom live stream. What advice was that then, Raz? What did the advice I've heard so far about VR gaming, if you get motion sickness, is just kind of break yourself in. So you play for, say, 10 minutes, stop playing, give yourself 15, 20 minutes away, then you come back and you give yourself another 15 minutes, then you break for half an hour, then you try it again for 20 minutes, and you increase your kind of resistance and durability over a period of time. That's the advice that I've heard. So pros and cons then. So the good things about the PSVR2, from the bits I've seen, on the PSVR2 you've got 4K HDR OLED displays for each eye. So you get crisp visuals, you get a really deep contrast, and that makes your VR games look stunning, right? There's what they call inside-out tracking, so there's no need for external cameras. The PSVR2 uses built-in cameras for head and control tracking. And apparently, it has an easier setup for more freedom to move around. Although there is a USB-C cable that has to be plugged into your PlayStation 5. The controllers on the PSVR2 have advanced haptics and adaptive triggers, so a bit like the DualSense. So you've got finger touch detection and responsive feedback, which is quite immersive. There's also something called eye tracking, which allows improved performance by focusing resolution where you're looking, and it can be used in gameplay and UI navigation in supported games. And I thought that was quite good. And one thing I found funny is there's a motor in the headset itself, so you get haptic feedback on your head. So if you're getting punched and kicked in the head in a game, you'll get like a little vibration on the back of your head. There's also a level of comfort built in, so there's some kind of ergonomic design. You can wear it for a lot longer, and it's integrated with your PlayStation 5, and you get those next gen visuals and performance. So you don't need a high end gaming PC, just your PlayStation 5. You've also got AAA games available on the PlayStation VR2. So you've got games like Resident Evil games. There's quite a few of them that have VR mode. You've got Gran Turismo. You've got Horizon Call of the Mountain. And Sony's working with third-party developers to kind of expand that library. Plus, with the PC adapter, you also get an opportunity to potentially play thousands of games on PC that are VR ready. Not all of them are going to work, but a lot will. And of course, you got your 20% discount, which brings the cost down to around $320 in the UK. So those are the positives. Those are the good things about the PSVR 2. Petrov is saying, does Resident Evil 9 have a VR mode? It will have a VR mode. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but the last few Resident Evil games do have VR modes, and apparently Sony is working with the developers, or they've paid extra for the developers to ensure that Capcom builds the VR playthrough, so you can use it for VR mode when it's announced. So Raz is saying, don't eat an hour before, play an hour a day for a week, and it should subside. Yeah, so build up the... I wasn't sure about the eating thing. That's interesting. I'm going to have to do more research before I invest in the PSVR 2. Tox is saying, what TV have I got? I've got a C2. To OLED C2. That's what I use for gaming in this studio. It's right there. Fantastic. The picture quality is amazing. Miyasumi saying Drive Club VR gave you VR legs, but Sony shut it down. Yeah, I don't know why they closed Drive Club down. But Miyasumi, you haven't tried GT7, right? Because that in VR mode is absolutely fantastic. Apparently, I've not played it, but absolutely fantastic. So, just gone through the pros. What are the cons? What are the issues then with the PSVR 2? Again, in actual fact, this is kind of my research, so I can help make an informed decision. So a lot of the places where I looked at what's a con, what's the problem with the PSVR2, a lot of the time the first thing that came up was, well, the PSVR2 needs a PS5. It's not a con, is it? I already have a PS5. So I've just scrapped that. That's not an issue. All right, so having a PS5 is not a problem. So let's move on. A wired connection. So it needs to be connected to the PlayStation 5 via a USB cable. Well, is that really a problem? That's something I have to ask myself. Is that a problem? Having it connected to the PS5? I don't really know. I don't know if it's a con. I don't have experience of playing PSVR2 every single day to determine if having it connected via a cord is a problem. I don't see it being a problem, but maybe someone can let me know if being connected to a console via a cable is restrictive in any way. Welcome back, Eastern Conference Game. We're talking about the pros and cons of the PSVR2 at the minute because we're comparing PSVR2 to the Xbox VR headset. So, and the other, so that was the being connected or tethered. No backward compatibility with PSVR1 games. So so this was listed as one of the negatives. Older PSVR games do not work unless updated by developers. So you're limited to only PSVR2 native or updated titles. Now, I could see this being a problem if you purchased the PSVR1 and built your catalogue of games up. But for newcomers, or someone like me who's a newcomer to PSVR2, that's not really a problem for me because I've never had the PSVR1, so I'll be going straight into PSVR2 if that's the direction I go into. So I don't really feel like this is a negative for me. Another thing that got listed quite a few times was that it's limited for non-gaming use. So there's no native YouTube VR apps, there's no Netflix VR, there's no PC VR support, officially that is. But you can watch all of those in what's called the cinema mode on the PSVR2. Again, not really sure if this is a problem. I mean, I'm buying it to play games, right? That is the primary function of my PSVR2, to play the games that I want to play and have those experiences on. But if I also get to play games in a cinema mode, I mean, what if I'm playing Ghosts of Tsushima or The Last of Us Part 2 in cinema mode? That seems pretty decent. I don't know. You guys let me know. The other thing that came out was that the library on the PSVR2 is not as big as the Meta or PC VR. But we do have the PC adapter, which opens up the possibility of more games being available. So the pros for me on a PSVR2 at the minute outweigh the cons. So at the minute, I'm all in favor of getting the PSVR2. Now, something else that I need to consider is Xbox has introduced or will be introducing a VR headset. Should I be considering buying that? This is the Meta Quest Xbox edition. What are your thoughts, guys? What are your thoughts on the Xbox edition of their VR set? Miyasma, you're saying the lens are the biggest flaw. Razi saying don't need a PS5 with PC adapter. Eastern Conference Gaming, you haven't got the second one. Razi saying the cable isn't an issue, but you have to be conscious of it, and it would be better as a wireless concept like most VR options. That's interesting. Eastern Conference Gaming saying PSVR2 games look way better due to the PS5 powering it. Keep that in mind. Definitely worth considering. So I think the pros of a PSVR2 far outweigh the negatives. I don't see they're not that negative, if I'm honest with you. But there's a new competitor in the scene, right? Xbox VR. What is all that about? Well, what is Xbox VR all about? So you can see that, right? Meta Quest S3S Xbox Edition officially revealed. So Xbox has a VR headset. So after the headset leaked just days ago, Xbox and Meta have officially revealed the Meta Quest 3S Xbox Edition VR headset. It's the first limited edition Meta Quest headset ever. And according to Laurie Wright, Corporate Vice President of Gaming Partnerships and Development at Microsoft, on their Xbox Wire post announcing the headset, it's part of our Xbox's ongoing partnership and celebrates the expansion of Xbox Cloud Gaming, currently in beta on the Meta Quest headsets. Regarding details of the headset, the official reveal is nothing we didn't already see in the leak. It is available to buy starting at $399 for the standard 128GB headset. It comes in Xbox Carbon Black, Velocity Green, matching Touch Plus controllers, and a limited edition Xbox controller. Also comes with an Elite strap, 3 months of Meta Horizon Plus, and 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. And they're going to say, we're proud of what we've built together with Meta. Said, right, we can't wait for you to dive into everything the Meta Quest Xbox Edition has to offer. Whether you're streaming the latest Xbox Game Pass Ultimate titles, exploring the ever-expanding world of VR, or kicking back with immersive entertainment, this is just the beginning of what's possible when great teams and great technology come together. So not really a lot of details about what the actual headset does. Yasmi is saying it's Xbox marketing jargon. GRP Gamer is saying the only downside is not many AAA games on PSVR2. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. That's the one thing that's kind of held me off for such a long time. Obviously, I'm going to take the plunge this year, but that's why I've waited so long. Raz is saying VR2, the positives do outweigh the negatives, as you say, and it provides another option for gamers to expand the hobby, just more to enjoy with our love of gaming. Yeah, 100. That's exactly what it is. Another way to experience games. A lot of people have told me about, if you haven't played Resident Evil in VR, you are missing. It's like never going to the cinema, and then all of a sudden you go to the cinema. The next time you see a brand new movie, you want to watch it in the cinema. It's an experience, right? You can still watch it at home. You can watch it on Netflix, and you can watch it on DVD. But if you watch it in the cinema, it's a whole nother level, and that's what it is here. It's a different level. GLP Gaming is saying it's the exact same as the standard Meta. Well, yeah. So what is this? Topic 3, isn't it? I forget now. Yeah. So what do you get? You get on the Xbox VR headset, you can stream Xbox Game Pass Ultimate titles via Xbox Cloud Gaming. The console offers console style gaming in VR, even without a gaming PC or Xbox. So these are the pros. These are the positives about this headset. $399, standalone headset. Sounds like a pretty decent deal. There's no wires. There's no console required, which is a nice USP. You get 3 months of Meta Horizon. You get 3 months of Game Pass Ultimate. You get Touch Plus controllers. So nice benefits if you want to try those subscription services out. It's a good entry point for Xbox users new to VR, especially for players with no VR experience. And those are, the kind of decent USPs. What are the cons? What's a negative about the Xbox VR? Eastern Conference Gaming saying it's a VR game coming out called Reach Don't Sleep, made by one of the best VR studios, made by End Dreams Don't Sleep. I might have to give that a try. I'm keeping a kind of a separate list of VR games I might be interested in giving a shot later this year. So what are the negatives of the VR headset for Xbox? So this is still a Meta headset, right? It's not a fully fledged Xbox VR platform. There are no native Xbox VR games. You're just streaming 2D Xbox games to a VR screen. The 3S is a budget version of Quest 3. It uses LCD screens instead of OLED. and the PSVR had the OLED screens. So this has slightly lower resolution and a lower refresh rate. There's no full color mixed reality pass-through like the Meta Quest 3. The cloud gaming elements require a strong internet connection, and there's no local game installs for Xbox titles. So input latency and compression artifacts can still affect the performance. What you do get is you get Meta's VR library, but that library mainly consists of AA titles and smaller kind of fun titles. But it lacks deep AAA titles, big games. It lacks it. And it also lacks VR versions of major Xbox games like Halo or Gears of War. Most VR content is still geared towards fitness, social, or arcade experiences. So those are kind of the prawns. Those are the cons of the Meta Quest Xbox edition. But a big one for me, which I mentioned a couple of days ago in the video, is that a couple of you have already mentioned it in the chat, that it feels like a bit of a branding exercise, a marketing exercise, right? It feels like it's someone else's product with an Xbox sticker on it. In fact, it's exactly that. It's someone else's manufactured product, and Xbox have placed their logo on it. The Xbox edition is mostly cosmetic. There's no exclusive content. There's no deep integration. There's no Xbox innovation on the VR headset. And that's the disappointing part of it. So if I was kind of comparing the two headsets, which one shall I get first? That's my comparison, and that's what I've seen so far when I've been doing my research. Eastern Conference game. What's the resolution per eye? I'm not sure what the resolution is on the Xbox VR Meta version, but the PSVR2, I think it had OLED. I made a list. I've got a note here. So it's got the PSVR2 is a 4K HDR OLED lens per eye, right? But the Xbox Meta uses an LCD screen, so it's much lower in comparison in terms of resolution per eye. And that's another big thing for me, that resolution, the quality, right? So I'm looking at this objectively based on the pros and the cons of both the PSVR2 and the Meta Xbox edition. PSVR2 for me is by far the more superior product. It offers more innovation. It has exclusive content. It has AAA games. It has better console gaming experiences, and it is tethered though. That's the negative. It is tethered via a USB cable. But I don't plan on running around or taking part in fitness classes, right? So the PSVR2 for me feels like it's more in tune with what I want from a gaming experience, and the fact that I can play other games via its large cinema screen mode is fine. So that's what's made my mind up about going for the PSVR2. The only thing I need to decide now is, do I jump now? Do I get it now or before the 9th of July? Because that's when the 20% discount is going to finish. Or do I get it at the back end of the year like I was planning to, which is when I was going to get it during Black Friday and the kind of Christmas sales time. That was what I'm kind of weighing up that decision. Which way do I bounce? So we got Razzie saying everything here is an Xbox. My shower is an Xbox. My bed is an Xbox. My dinner tonight is an Xbox. My bench press is an Xbox. The list goes on and on and on. Yeah. Eastern Conference game. I bet you that shit don't have haptics on the headset. Like, no, it doesn't have haptics. No, it doesn't. So I always try to look at things logically, right? And so this is what I'm thinking now. This is why I haven't gone ahead and bought the PSVR 2. Right now, I'm playing Death Stranding 2. I've got to think about this logically, right? Think about how much time I'm going to have. I'm playing Death Stranding 2. I'm going to be playing that for a month. 100%. It'll take me longer than July. I'm hoping I can finish it by the end of July, but let's just say I do. So all July, I'm playing Death Stranding 2. I ain't going to have time for anything else. When you factor in podcasts, YouTube videos, work, family, and all that kind of stuff, right? In August, right? This is how I'm thinking. This is my long-term thinking strategy. In August, I'm playing the Mafia. It's a small game, right? It's a smaller experience. I don't know, it's about 12 hours, 15 hours, something like that. I can finish that in 2 weeks, right? I know it's a small game, but that's how much time I'm going to dedicate. 2 weeks, a couple of hours a day, 1 or 2 hours a day. So early in August, when the Mafia comes out, I'll have that finished first half of August, right? 2 to 3 weeks. At the end of August, we've got Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater. We've got Lost Souls aside, which I'm going to have to park to one side, unfortunately, for now. We've got Metal Gear Solid, end of August. I'll be playing that throughout the entirety of September, all month, right? At the end of September, when I'll finish Metal Gear Solid, 3 or 4 days later, Ghost of Yotai comes out. So all of October, I'll be playing Ghost of Yotai, which takes us into November. Black Friday, Christmas sales, perfect for PlayStation VR. That's how I've thought about this. That's the roadmap I've given myself. Everything else, all the other games that are coming out between now and November, we'll just have to park it unless it's Death Stranding 2, Mafia, Metal Gear Solid, and Ghost of Yotai. That's all I'm playing in that order. Everything else is on the bench. Backlog. I'll play it when I get a chance. And then in November and December and January, after the games have come out, things start to quieten down. You get that Christmas time when you play your games. I can focus on PSVR2 and play some smaller games. That's my thinking. That's my logic. So that's how I'm thinking. That's my logic. That's my mind thinking there. So what are you saying? Wait for November. That's what you're saying. Eastern Conference game, you're waiting to November. Get a better sale. GLP Gamer, you're saying, if you have games to play now, buy it now. If not, wait till Black Friday. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just because of the games I'm playing now, I'm not going to get a chance to play it. Razi saying, take the plunge. Go get that VR2, brother. Petrov is saying, wait for November, December. Oh, Eastern Conference game, DOA. No. Motion sickness is a thing. GLP game, you're saying motion. Yeah, I've experienced it once before, not in a VR set, with something else, and it was horrendous. I was out. It was like it affected me for a few hours. Games. Yes, brother, games. Wu Chang, yeah, again, Wu Chang's on my list, but I'm just not going to be. I'm not going to get around to it. Things I cannot get to, like Lost Souls and Wu Chang. There'll be others. FIFA will come out. I always get FIFA. I always play Call of Duty. Those games are going on the backlog. I'll play them when I get a chance. Petrov, you've ordered Yotai. Can't wait for Yotai. Don't sleep. Now there's an option. Imagine how many games I could play if I don't sleep. So yeah, my thinking is wait November, December, that time. Yeah, the Xbox One is DOA, I think. I think if you're an enthusiastic, you'll buy it for the Xbox platform. Yeah, you're already in with the games, the platform stuff, so you're probably going to get it. But I'm just thinking, those that are thinking to go in for the first time, why would you go for it? What's going to tempt you to go for the Xbox VR? Whereas I got the 20% discount. Otherwise, I would say wait for the holiday sales. You got your VS2 last December before the permanent price drop on a great sale. Yeah, it's. I've also kind of identified the Midnight Black, the Astrobot controller, and the PlayStation 1 Classic controller. All three. I like all three. I'm not going to get all three. I'll get one, but I'll probably just use the 20% on one of the controllers. I might get two actually. Petrov is saying PSVR3. You know what? This is what worries me now. This is what concerns me. The PlayStation VR2, you can't use PSVR1 games on PSVR2. I don't want to. What I don't want to do, I would really kick myself for this. I get the PSVR2, and then a year later, Sony announces PSVR3's coming out. GLP Gamer is saying, is the 20% random accounts? I've not had one. I don't know. There's a few people saying they haven't had one. I know some people have. Obviously, I've had one. Some people have had it. But I don't know. I don't know what the criteria is to qualify for the 20% discount. Rice is saying you might get a headset. You've got your eye on one. Petrov, you've got the classic controller. I like the classic controller. I really like the look of that. I do also like the Midnight Black controller. I want one. So I might just pick up a couple of controllers, get the 20% off, and then later in the year, I suspect the PlayStation VR2 will drop to $299 in the UK. I think it'll drop to like $299, and you'll have a bundle. I don't know what the bundles are. If it's just Horizon bundle, I'll get that one. Hopefully they offer something else as well. Taraz is saying, from what you've read, you just need to be a PlayStation Plus subscriber and you get 20% discount as part of the 15th anniversary. That's what I thought, yeah. I just thought everyone gets 20%. Yeah, Eastern Conference game. I don't think the devs are going to update the PSVR1 games. I don't think that's happening. But it'll be disappointing if I get the PSVR2, then they announce a PSVR3 coming out in 2 years' time or something. That'll be disappointing. How you doing, Crooked Vulture? Miasma, you like building roads. Right, shall we move on, guys? Shall we move on to the next topic? Topic number 4. Eastern Conference Gaming, Midnight Black Elite DualSense controller, best joystick out. Yeah, I was tempted, but it's like £200 the Elite controller. I'm not sure if I want to spend that much on a controller just yet. Actually, again, I'd rather just get a regular DualSense controller. I quite like the classic and Midnight Black. So let's move on. This is a bit of a disappointing and a worrying one, actually. So this is topic 4, and it's not good. So we heard it a couple of weeks back, all right? Xbox, Microsoft, they're laying off people. There's lots of news reports going around. This is off WCCF Tech, and we've had over the last couple of days these rumors and reports ramp up. So this is what they're saying. There's multiple reports coming out now. This is going to happen. So credible reports from Bloomberg and The Verge earlier this week suggested another imminent round of Xbox layoffs. These layoffs are supposed to be part of wider Microsoft restructuring, and according to The Verge, some small Xbox operations will actually cease in select regions. Today, George Broussard, co-founder of Apogee Software, now 3D Realms, and one of the creators of Duke Nukem, shared whispers from within the industry that the layoffs could remove as many as 2,000 employees. This would be around 10% of the workforce if we consider Activision and Bethesda as part of the Xbox teams, which is likely the case. The companies will most likely be affected anyway, as they were in the previous rounds of layoffs. Even more worrying is the rumor that studio closures studio closures could happen too. The first big round of cuts happened in January 2023 when Microsoft slashed around 10,000 jobs, although that was across all of its divisions, not just gaming. The cuts involved Bethesda, the Coalition, and 343 Industries, amongst others. 1 year later, just a few months after the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, Microsoft removed another 1,900 employees between Xbox and ABK teams, amounting to around 8% of its gaming workforce. That also caused the cancellation of Project Odyssey, a survival game in development at Activision based on a new fantasy IP. In May 2024, Xbox shut down Arcane Austin, the development team behind Prey and Redfall, Tango Gameworks, The Evil Within, Ghostwire Tokyo, and Hi-Fi Rush, Alpha Dog Games, The Mighty Doom, and Roundhouse Studios. Thankfully, Tango Gameworks was revived a few months later by Krafton and brought with it the Hi-Fi Rush franchise. So with Microsoft's financial quarter set to end on June the 30th, the announcement isn't far off and may come by the end of this week. Stay tuned to get all the official details as they come. So literally, we are going to have tomorrow there's going to be some massive layoffs. It'll be announced. So what I want to say here is, even before we start right off the bat, before we go any further with this discussion about the layoffs, right? I wish the devs impacted by any layoffs over the coming weeks or so the very best when stuff like this happens. Right? I hope they get jobs quickly. And just before we take a look at what's happening at Xbox, let's not forget, right, the entire tech industry over, I don't know what, the last 3 years, right, has been impacted. From Netflix, Apple, Google, Amazon, Sony, Microsoft, Facebook, Uber, and any tech company has been affected. In fact, all tech companies over the last 3 or 4 years. It's not just the gaming industry. It's every industry worldwide that has been impacted. But of course, the tech industry is going through brutal times. And I believe largely in part to the fallout from COVID. Because ever since COVID started, tech companies largely benefited from a lot of people being restricted to staying at home. Subscription services benefited from people who had nothing to do other than game or watch TV. And then when people were finally going back to work, they were mainly working remotely. Again, more tech companies benefited from people working in restrictive conditions, working remotely. Tech industries recruited heavily, and some people did really well working in those industries. However, as we've seen more and more people coming back into the office and a sense of normality return over the last 2 to 3 years, the subscription services have fallen rapidly across all industries, across all sectors. And as a result, many of those companies are downsizing. They're reducing their workforces back to pre-COVID levels, give or take. And there are, of course, other considerations. AI is developing faster and it's having a big impact on kind of creative industries, especially as we see more and more AI being adopted within all the industries, including the gaming industry. So those issues have impacted all tech industries generally over the past few years. Now, specifically with Microsoft, on top of everything I've just mentioned, let's not forget, they've spent the best part of $100 billion. $100 billion on studio acquisitions over the last decade. Okay? And not to mention just an astonishing amount of money on wages and salaries and bonuses for every one of them studios that they've acquired. And we've already discussed kind of declining hardware from Xbox's side, sales of software not happening on Xbox's platform. Microsoft wants a return on that investment, hence going third party to recoup that investment. But what we also have to take into consideration is that when Microsoft acquired all of those publishers and studios, they inherited thousands of staff, not just developers, but other staff who play an important role in their studios. But when Microsoft acquired them, they also had they acquired multiple people effectively doing the same job, right? So what you get is bloat. With any acquisition, you get bloat. Too many people in the same business not enough productivity. And this is according to the corporations, right? And as a result, Microsoft is streamlining again. But the issue is a bit more complex than just streamlining because of bloat. The added problem is that the gaming division is not returning enough money to satisfy the shareholders. It's just not making enough money. Petrov is saying games cost too much. Too few who buy Xbox games or games overall. Yasumi is saying all while making record profits. Yeah, they're aiming for a $5 trillion business valuation over the next year or so. So they're not making enough money. Games on Xbox do not sell enough. Xbox hardly makes any profit or much, not profit, money, revenue from its first party games being released into Game Pass. So when you release games, your own gamers are not buying your first party games, you're in trouble. You can place your games on other platforms and try to generate some revenue, but you really need your own user base to cover all the costs and make some profit. So with the other platforms adding additional revenues into the pot, that's not happening. The money they're getting from releasing games onto PC, PlayStation, Switch is not enough because your own fan base isn't buying the games. That's a problem. The Game Pass numbers, they've grown slowly, but they haven't hit the numbers that Microsoft wanted. What Microsoft thought they were going to deliver, they haven't done that. I mean, they went out and acquired Activision Blizzard with the biggest shooter ever in Call of Duty. It sells 30 million every year, 25 to 30 million every year, guaranteed. Doesn't matter how much you criticize Call of Duty, doesn't matter what you say, it will sell 25 to million every year, and make billions in microtransactions. But even with that, you know, maybe Microsoft thought, hey, if we buy Activision, our Game Pass subscribers will jump up by 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. Hey, 25 to 30 million people play that game all the time. They buy that game every year. Maybe our Game Pass subs will jump up by millions. So when we drop Call of Duty into Game Pass, those numbers will go up. And so they did. They dropped Call of Duty into Game Pass. They dropped the number one selling game pretty much every year into Game Pass. And what happened? The needle didn't move. The revenue Xbox gained in new Game Pass subscribers, they pretty much lost from people who would have purchased the game but chose not to because the game was available for free in Game Pass. Immediately devaluing the game, completely flawed strategy. So if the biggest game, the biggest selling game every year doesn't move the needle, what next? What do we do? Okay, so let's sign off games going over to other platforms. Not just 4. Everything. Sign it all off. Every game on every platform. Gears, Forza, Indiana Jones, Hellblade 2, which is coming out. Others will come to. Others have come out. Get them onto PlayStation quick. And they did. Still hasn't made an indent to the return on investment that the Microsoft shareholders want. So what do they do now? What's next? What's their next strategy? Raise prices. Okay. The Xbox hardware is raising prices. It's already a declining hardware. It's not selling, but will increase the price anyway. Why? Another flawed strategy. So what do we do now? What's our next option? What are we left with? Nothing. We have no options but to start laying off more developers and even close down studios. That's where we're at now. And you've got studios like Turn 10, the developers of the Forza games. Arguably, one of the best racing games out there alongside GT7. Those are the two competitors, right? They're kind of neck and neck. Some will say Forza's better, some will say GT7's better, but it's a very good studio that makes a great game. And their developers are worried about the future. What kind of environment is that if you're a developer working at a Microsoft studio? How can you work under those conditions not knowing if you're going to have a job next week or not? This strategy is completely flawed from Microsoft. GRP Gamer, you're saying Microsoft are in full panic mode, if you ask me. Game Pass isn't increasing and their games aren't selling. It certainly feels like panic, doesn't it? It feels like, what do we do? How do people aren't buying games? What do we do? What do we do? How do we get people to buy in our games? We've already increased prices. Sub-services have gone up. Hardware's gone up. Games are on every platform. We're still not selling. What do we do? That's what it feels like right now. GLP Gamer, you're saying the partnership with Steam makes no sense to me. How does Microsoft benefit? I have no idea. I don't know. I've made this comment before about this new piece of hardware, which is meant to have multiple storefronts. How does Xbox make money from it though? You got a piece of hardware. People are going in to another ecosystem on that hardware and buying games. How do you benefit? I don't know. I don't know. Petrov is saying they want over 100 million on Game Pass. I don't know. I don't see that happening. You've just dropped the biggest shooter ever into Game Pass and it hasn't moved the needle. Nothing's happened. You know, people like to buy games. People like to own their games in large parts. That's what we're seeing, right? We're seeing it on Nintendo. We're seeing it on PlayStation. Just not seeing it on Xbox. So as you said, Microsoft wants to provide access to everything on one platform. They do. They do, but I don't understand how they're going to make money from it. I don't understand how they're going to make profit. Petrov is saying PS games on Steam are not exclusive. Yeah, I don't know how this. I don't know what the next move is. I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how they're going to turn that corner if you're Microsoft, because right now they're throwing everything out. You know, throw all the balls in the air, see what sticks. Throw everything on the wall, see what sticks. What's happening? You know, how do we move forward? They're hoping something sticks. They have games going to Game Pass day and date, but some games won't go day and date. They've now got a tier system. They've raised the price of hardware and games when they're not even selling. That makes no sense. They've released games onto competitor platforms, giving people no reason to buy an Xbox or invest in the ecosystem. They slapped an Xbox logo on a handheld device and a VR headset claiming it's an Xbox, and yet it doesn't even play all of your current Xbox games, and it offers zero innovation. It's one calamity after another. We're going to see some major layoffs over the next coming weeks. It's sad. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for the gaming industry. It's not going to be good if you love some of the franchises at those studios. Certainly those that are going to be impacted. And just hope, like I said, the devs find something soon. New opportunities with other studios sooner rather than later. It's going to be horrific next week, unfortunately. GLP Gamer, you're saying it's essentially like Steam on Windows 11. Raz trying to entice people to purchase an Xbox. Everything is an Xbox. The PC app is terrible, buggy as hell. Cancel Game Pass after a month. Petrov fanbase is too small. GLP Gamer, you're saying you have console gamers and PC gamers. I can't imagine there's many people that want to use both Xbox Store and Steam. People will just pick one. Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know. I don't know what they're trying to. I don't know what Xbox is trying to do, or Microsoft. I just think they need to say, look, if you want to play the next, I don't know what's the Fable. You want to play the next Fable game. You got to buy the game, and you got to buy the Xbox console. It's not going to PC. It's not going to PlayStation. It's not going to Game Pass. It's not going to Nintendo Switch. It's not going to go on the handheld. You want to play it? Buy an Xbox. Buy the game. Enjoy it. We don't know when it's going to go to Game Pass. We don't know when it's coming to PC. We don't know when it's going to any other platform. Might be 2 years. Might be 10 years. Might be never. Could be in 6 months. We don't know. And they should stick to their guns and not release it anywhere else. Any other game, the next Halo game, the next Gears game, whatever games, Xbox, the next Call of Duty, you want to play it, you got to buy the Xbox console. That's the only place you can play it. You watch those console sales flying off the shelves, right? People will buy it because they want to play these games. That's the only way they're going to start to see that user base increase. They might start to see Game Pass subs drop. Not entirely, but the levels will drop a little bit. And then they'll level out because people will still want to play free games on Game Pass. People will still have that subscription service. It just won't be everyone. But you'll start to see people come out and buy games like they used to do on the Xbox One, the original, the Xbox 360. They used to buy games. Those people will still buy these games. Microsoft just needs to enforce that policy, which I don't think they will. GRP Gamer, I've read that. Raz, you read one comment on another channel that Microsoft is the best-selling best-selling developer on Sony as a shot at PS players. My response was, yeah, it sells, but not on Xbox. Yeah, you see, this argument that because I've seen some of these posts on X that Microsoft is the best-selling developer on Sony. So what? It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. EA at times is the bestseller, right? You're talking about a publisher. Ubisoft is up there sometimes. It means nothing. It just means some people are buying games that have been made by a third-party developer, and we know Microsoft is a third-party developer. So that doesn't mean anything. GRP Gaming saying, if Steam comes to PlayStation, I would not care at all. I would still buy everything through PS Store. I have no interest in having different game stores. I'm lazy. I just want everything in one place. Yeah, if Steam came... if Steam was on the PlayStation 6... It's an interesting thought. I don't think Sony would allow another storefront on their platform. But maybe they would. I don't know. Maybe they would. I think if you're buying Steam games on a Steam store, how would Sony benefit? That'll be the question they're trying to figure out. What's in it for them? It's an interesting thought, right? How you doing, Corey? How you doing, buddy? You was playing Death Stranding 2. We thought you were playing Death Stranding 2. We thought you were getting your second platinum on the game. Petrov, do you think they will do it? What's that? Put Steam on the Xbox platform? I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. It's certainly an interesting debate. It's certainly an interesting discussion. Sony is never going to allow another store on the PlayStation platform. Yeah, I don't see why they would. I don't see what's in it for them. Their number one most profitable division is PlayStation. PlayStation games, PlayStation software, PlayStation accessories. That beats every other product Sony does. Right? So they're never going to jeopardize that. In the background, they will have cloud infrastructure. They will have a PC launcher. They will have everything ready to go if they need to drop games day one into PlayStation Plus. If one day the hardware starts to decline and, I don't know, software sales start to drop, they will switch on all these other little processes in the background. But until that happens, they're going to continue doing what they're doing right now. So I think, I think we should move on. I think we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so we'll have a look at like the gaming segment. So the bits, games and things that are coming out, new things, stuff that we've looking forward to, maybe things on the radar. So this is kind of the second part of the podcast where we focus on what I've called at the moment is the gaming spotlight, but we can change that. If you guys think of something better to call it, we'll call it that. So this caught my eye. This is LittleBigPlanet. I don't know if you guys remember playing LittleBigPlanet back in the day. Crooked Vulture is saying, not sure how Microsoft being a big publisher on PlayStation is a big achievement. All they did was Money Hat, Activision Blizzard King, and COD was always a massive sellout on PlayStation beforehand. Yeah, the fact that some people are talking about Microsoft games being on PlayStation and they're selling well, that's what third-party publishers do, don't they? They put their games on every platform to sell. So it just, all it does to me, it tells me, it reinforces the notion that they're a big third-party publisher and they'll put games on every platform. That's all it does. Games are selling on PlayStation, but they're not selling on Xbox. Sad to say, unfortunately. Corey, you're at the point of no return in the story, so decided to go back and build up the infrastructure across the Australia map. I've got pretty much all the roads done and monorail. Oh, fantastic. I haven't even got that far yet. Just discovered the gateway to Australia after getting unlocking the Mexico section. So I'm very early in the game, but fantastic. Enjoying the game so far. So LittleBigPlanet apparently is on the way back. So according to a listing on IMDb, Sony will be sprucing up the original LittleBigPlanet for the PlayStation 5 with a bunch of extra features known as LittleBigPlanet Remastered. The format holder hasn't announced anything official yet, and given the source, you should take it with a healthy dose of salt for the time being. And here's the official blurb from IMDb. So it goes here: step back into the vibrant, imaginative world of LittleBigPlanet with this all-in-one remastered experience, rebuilt for the PlayStation 5. Rediscover Sackboy like never before with stunning reimagined graphics, new content, and more. Now, the original LittleBigPlanet came out for the PlayStation 3 back in 2008 and was developed by Media Molecule and introduced PlayStation fans to the world of Sackboy, who has fronted the series ever since. And the game focuses on user-generated content, with players able to construct their own stages and custom gameplay experiences before sharing them with users online. LittleBigPlanet 2 followed in 2011, also for the PlayStation 3, and LittleBigPlanet 3, developed by Sumo Digital, launched for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 3 November 2014. Unfortunately, Sony delisted LittleBigPlanet 3 from the PlayStation Store on October 31st, 2024. So the game is no longer available to purchase digitally. So, LittleBigPlanet. Who's played that game before? I have fond memories of this game. I remember this game. And I'm personally glad to hear that LittleBigPlanet. It's a rumor, so we don't know if it's true, but I'm glad the rumors are coming out of this game. The mascot used to be PlayStation's mascot before being bumped off by Astro Bot. I used to play this with my son a few years ago, so I've got fond memories of and a soft spot for LittleBigPlanet. And I always feel like games like these, they're a good entry point for younger kids, right? Or parents looking to introduce kids to gaming or the PlayStation ecosystem. So I kind of want this to be true. And it would be great to have a PlayStation 5 version of LittleBigPlanet. I do really want it to be true. Raz, you're saying they should do a LittleBigPlanet Astrobot crossover. That'll be interesting. That'll be really interesting. So LittleBigPlanet potentially in the pipeline. Something to look forward to if it's true. I mean, it's been taken off the store. Maybe it's been taken off because they were working on a LittleBigPlanet game. And next up, we have Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. A PlayStation 5 release date has been set for August the 12th. And it includes 60 frames per second performance mode. And again, this one making the rounds. So Xbox Game Studio and Ninja Theory have announced that Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 will launch for PlayStation 5 on August the 12th, 2025, which will arrive alongside the enhanced update for Xbox Series X and S. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 is now available to pre-order digitally for the standard and deluxe editions of the game, with the latter featuring a PlayStation 5 enhanced version of Hellblade and its accompanying soundtrack. If you already own the PS4 version of the original Hellblade, you're entitled to a free update to the PlayStation 5 version. The PS5 version of Hellblade 2 will feature a performance mode, allowing users to experience the game at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second, which is really highlighted during the more fast-moving sections of the game, including combat beyond that. There's a photo mode that's been enhanced for the release with improvements to various settings, as well as motion tab for custom cinematic video capture. So originally released for the PC and Xbox Series X and S in May 2024, Hellblade 2 is the critically acclaimed follow-up to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, and sees the heroine returning for a new adventure that sees her battling through the Viking Iceland during the 9th century. You have to navigate treacherous terrain, including ice-covered slopes and storm-battered coastlines, as you battle with your inner demons, including Senua's struggle against psychosis. So, interesting. This one, very interesting. So, Hellblade 2 coming out in August. This is going onto my backlog, so I won't have time to play this. I'll be playing August, right? I'll be playing the Mafia in August. Corey is saying LittleBigPlanet is a good platform, but it rely too heavily on user content. Yeah, maybe there's an opportunity to just have it available, you know, have the remastered version available and try to encourage more people. Because when it came out before PlayStation 3 era and the PlayStation 4 era, you know, maybe people were, especially on PlayStation, very much into their single player games. But as time progresses like it is now, a lot of people are into live service and multiplayer games. Maybe they're feeling there's an opportunity here for a more shared environment. Maybe there's more user content that can be created kind of in the environment now in 2025, 2026 and beyond. I kind of like that type of game. I think it's a great experience for kids to come and play, kind of get them into the ecosystem. Corey, you're not playing Hellblade 2. It's a skip for you. I played this game. I played it on Game Pass when it came out a while back. It's a good game, but it is pretty short. So this is another Xbox first-party game coming over to PlayStation 5. This time, though, game's coming out in August, and I've already played it on Game Pass, so it's not one I'll be picking up. I played it before. It's a good game. It's really short, though. It's about 6 hours, give or take. It does look good. It looks stunning. The game is running at 60 frames per second on PlayStation 5 on performance mode, and it's going to be smooth, but it's still locked at 30 frames per second on Xbox, which is bad news for Xbox. I mean, Xbox doesn't look after its gamers, right? It's not having a 60 frames per second mode for your own fan base. It's not good. You're releasing it at 60 FPS for a competitor. It tells you all you need to know about who Microsoft considers is more important right now. Eastern Conference Gamer, you're saying it's dead on arrival. Yeah, I don't know what people are going to... I don't know if... because there's no information about whether... what data is available on the... I don't even know if it's coming on disc. It should be available on disc on PlayStation 5. But that's not been confirmed. And we also don't know how much data is available on disc. You'd like to think that after the issues of Indiana Jones and what was the other one? Doom, right? The lack of data being available on disc. I'd like to think that the full game data would be available. I don't know what's happened to the video there. I don't know why it changes all of a sudden. I'd like to think that the game would have the full data on disc for those that want to buy and collect games physically, but I won't go back to this game. I've already played it before. Like I said, it was a very short experience. It's the kind of game that I would have said, you know what, for it being 5-6 hours long, it's probably a good Game Pass experience. It's probably a good one for PlayStation Plus. It's definitely not worth £60-70 if you're paying that much for the game. My own experience, my own kind of opinion. Corey saying too many good games coming out in August and September to spend money on a 6-hour game at 50. But yeah, that's the other thing, right? Everyone knows what this game is like. Everyone's commented on it before, and so the video's messed up again. So yeah, people have commented on the game, and I think unless you really like that style of game, unless you really like the artistic style of this game and what it's trying to portray, because the game is different. If you really like that, then you might go out and buy it, and especially if you don't like the other games coming out around August. But it's not one for me. I'm just surprised that the PS5 version has a 60 frames per second mode, performance mode, and you don't get that on the Xbox platform, which is it's not great. Not great. So next I want to move on to it's a new game for consoles, but it's not a new game because it's already out on PC, and this is a game called Delta Force. Eastern Conference Gaming is saying it might sell some. I got some homies that will look at it, but they will get burnt once they've seen the experience, that gameplay. Yeah. Yes, some people might dive into it, but it's not going to be a big seller. But this game, I saw Delta Force when it came onto PC a little while ago, and it caught my eye. So it's a free-to-play first-person shooter from developer Team Jade, and it's going to arrive on Xbox and PS5 on August this year. So August again, another game for August. And the news comes alongside the reveal of what Team Jade is calling the game's largest update yet, which will be available for players on PC and mobile platforms in a little less than 2 weeks' time. Regarding the new content coming on July 9th, the Season Break update will bring new maps for Operations and Warfare, a new operator, swimming, improvements to Victory, Unite, and more. The new Operations map is called Tide Prison, a high-tech island prison that players have to infiltrate under the guise of being a new batch of prisoners, meaning you'll have to collect your gear after you're already inside. The new Warfare map is called Cyclone, a tropical island that's hiding an ICBM missile site. Cyclone will feature infantry and vehicle combat and adds a dynamic weather system to the gameplay to create an even more intense chaos. The new operator players can select is Tempest, who players can unlock for free along with the Battle Pass. Tempest is a movement-focused operator with an exoskeleton device that gives them greater mobility and is ideal for close-range encounters where she can easily close the gap between her and her unsuspecting foes. Players look to dive into Delta Force on consoles will be able to take advantage of all the content in the game up to its release in August, and will be able to play the Black Hawk Down single-player campaign as part of the free DLC. If you're incredibly keen to play Delta Force on your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series device, then you can wishlist the game starting tomorrow, June 28th. So that was yesterday. So you'll have a reminder sent to you by your platform of choice that it's ready for you to hop into. So this game, I don't normally play live service games or free-to-play games, but there's a single-player mode which is free. It's a DLC. Not sure how long it is, but it looks pretty good to me. I did have a trailer running on here, but I hope... Let me see if I've got the trailer. I don't know where it is. Let me see if this is it. Because it looks, I think it looks pretty good. No, that's obviously not it. No, I don't know where it's gone now. I thought I had it on here. That's Hellblade. Here we go. Some of these are going to be the online bits. Some of this is the multiplayer. So Corey's in Delta Force is free to play. Yeah, free to play game. Crooked Vulture is saying, I'm pretty sure Xbox gets the 60 frames update as a patch for Hellblade 2. Is that right? Did they get that as well? Well, it's at least a year too late, isn't it? It's a year too late, really. Series S is not getting the patch. Series X is getting the patch. You disregard the Series S. Nobody takes that seriously. Yeah, if you might be right there actually. The 60 frames per second come into the Xbox Series X. Maybe I said it's not coming to the Series S, but it's coming to the Series X. Eastern Conference game. You're not liking the Delta gameplay trailer. This is the single player campaign, the single player DLC. It's free. It looks alright on PC. So if you're into shooters, right? If you like Warzone or anything like that, it's already available on PC. It's coming to PlayStation and Xbox in August. It's coming with new maps, but for me, the bit I like is that there's a free DLC mode, a free single player campaign via DLC. No idea how long the game is going to be, but I think it's worth giving a try. Play on console if you like it, then go and have a try on the online game. I mean, it looks okay. I suppose it's another competitor to Call of Duty, I suppose. So it's not going to replace your Jarhead. Armour. I heard about Armour. I heard about that game. I never played it though. A few people have been telling me to try Armour out. So yeah, so let's move on. Let's have a look at the final game on the spotlight. So Pearl Abyss is going to be coming to Gamescom this year. So let's have a look here. So Pearl Abyss is bringing Crimson Desert back to Gamescom with another demo available for those in attendance at Gamescom 2025 to try out for themselves ahead of the game's launch sometime this fall. Now, Crimson Desert was playable at Gamescom 2024, and before the event, there were rumblings that we'd see the game launch sometime in early 2025. That didn't happen. Of course, Pearl Abyss announcing a fall 2025 release date at the Gamescom 2024 awards, but we haven't had anything from the studio. We nearly had a release date reveal last week with a Korean website reporting that Crimson Desert would arrive on November the 2nd, 2025. Pearl Abyss released a statement, and they said, simply saying, when the company is ready to announce a release date, it will come from official channels. That statement doesn't exactly deny the November the 2nd date, though of course it doesn't confirm it either. So we'll have to wait for Pearl Abyss to properly announce a date, which could potentially come at the Gamescom 2025. If you do check out Crimson Desert at Gamescom 2025, then they'll be playing it on an AMD-powered PC with Samsung G6 and G8 monitors on display, which is disappointing because I want to see what it looks like on console, not PC. I want to see what it looks like for a console platform. They go on to say, we're thrilled to debut Crimson Desert's latest public demo for the very first time here at Gamescom 2025. That was by the Chief Executive Officer at Pearl Abyss, Libby Park. She goes on to say, "We can't wait for fans to get hands-on with the experience we've crafted. From the immersive booth to the gameplay itself, we hope every visitor walks away feeling part of Crimson Desert and excited for what's to come here at launch." So, Crimson Desert then. What are you guys saying about Crimson Desert? How are you feeling about that? So, Corey, you don't really play competitive online shooters. You prefer co-op multiplayer? Yeah, to be honest, I don't really play competitive online anything. I don't mind diving in every now and again, just if you've got half an hour to kill or something. But I much rather prefer the single player experience. But Crimson Desert, I think, looks pretty decent. We haven't heard anything really from the developers about this game. I did like the original gameplay trailer you can see being played in the back. It looks stunning, but whether that's going to be reflective of the final product, I don't know. I like to think it'll look like that on consoles, but the next playable demo at Gamescom in August, it'll be a hands-on demo, but it's not going to be a console version. It'll be a PC version. And the game has been on my radar for a long time, but apparently it's going to launch. It was supposed to launch in 2025, but I think that'll be pushed back. I think that'll get pushed back into 2026. I mean, every time I see it, it looks pretty good. Corey, you're saying you're worried about Crimson Desert. They haven't been showing it a lot, and you're worried how performance will be. Yeah, and what worries me is that the gameplay demo that people are going to actually get their hands on at Gamescom will still be running on PC, and we're not going to actually get a demo of a console and how it performs. I just don't want that whole, that cyberpunk debacle happening to another game. And I like what I see on. You look at those graphics, you look at the way the game plays. Is that going to be our experience, or is that going to be a high-end PC experience? Eastern Conference game, you're saying this is one of my highly anticipated games. Can't wait. This is your Witch 4. Okay, this is your fixer for Witch 4. You want to see it running on a Pro? Yeah, they're not gonna show it running on a console. What are they going to show? I've got the thing here. So, Crimson Desert, when it's going to be on display, when the playable demo goes live on at the Gamescom event, they'll be playing it on an AMD powered PC with Samsung G6 and G8 monitors on display. So you won't be able to see it being played on console. You'll see it being played on probably a very high-end running PC. So we're still not going to get to see how it performs and plays on console, which is what I want to see. I'm excited to see how this game performs. Crooked Vulture saying it looks great if they can deliver what it promises. Yeah, but if you think back to when Cyberpunk was launched, it looked great, right? It looked fantastic, but none of that was reflective of the console experience. It was all PC. And so we're going to see Crimson Desert being played again, a new demo on PC at Gamescom. People are going to get their hands on it. They're going to be able to see and play and experience it for the very first time. But it's all going to be running on PC, not running on a console. So I think it's just something to be wary of, something to be mindful of going forward until we get to see gameplay on console. So interesting. I mean, it's still one to watch. It's still on my radar. I'm still going to keep an eye on it. But just be mindful that at the moment we haven't seen this game running on console. Crooked Vulture saying yes, you just can't tell until it releases. Could be another Mind's Eye. Yeah, well, yeah. Mind's Eye is yeah, that word's banned on the channel. Okay, guys, that's I think that's all the topics covered for today on the podcast. So we've gone through everything. It was a interesting discussion we had earlier about the PlayStation strategy and the VR discussion. I quite like that. Quite enjoyed it. Eastern Conference Gaming, you like Phantom Blade? Yeah, we're looking forward to Phantom Blade. Very excited to get that game. But again, it might be something that goes on the back burner until I see what else is coming out around the time. Corey is saying the fact that they're not showing it on console and they're aiming for 2025 release isn't looking good. No, it's kind of why I think maybe hope that it gets pushed into 2026. Because by now, 2025, my goodness me, it does make me nervous about a 2025 release if they still haven't shown a console gameplay demo. I'd rather it gets pushed into 2026 and they optimize it for PlayStation 5 Pro. Or we get a Pro version. So, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. That's everything. We've covered all the topics today. It's been great. Appreciate you guys tuning into the stream. So we've kept it under what, 3 hours today, which is pretty decent. Yeah, Eastern Conference Gaming, you're saying you're hyped, but still alarmed. I think be cautious. Yeah, be wary of it for now until we see a console demo. Let's just watch this space, and as soon as there's a console version or demo, I'll let everyone know. So, guys, appreciate you guys tuning in to the podcast. As always, hit that like button on the way out, and I look forward to catching up with you guys next week on episode 4. Eastern Conference Gaming, get with it, man. Get with the program. Start Death Stranding. Next week we'll have another little discussion about Death Stranding. Hopefully 20 hours in, give or take. Guys, thank you for today. Hit that like button on the way out, and enjoy the outro.